Here we go. Out.
Pug just said
he's type like 14 times. That's all I wanted to show. Liberals can't say his name without saying Reed.
That's me.
Reed Coverdale, the Nationalist Capitalist, still on YouTube, knock on wood. Also Instagram, not on Twitter. Twice. Is that right? 2 times, 3 times?
Twice, but I am running the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire's account now, so that's pretty based. But
yeah, allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly, not really.
Because no one's allowed to avoid the
Twitter ban evasion.
Right, you're influencing.
My spirit is among the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire Twitter. We'll just say that.
Well, you still don't know what it's like to not be able to tweet. Sucks.
Well, I can't tweet. I mean, you've seen the tweets that have come out of there. They've been pretty good, but I still can't go quite full throttle like I used to. So,
right. I don't see them unless they're on Telegram.
Right.
Because I just don't tweet at all. I don't read Twitter. I'm boycotting Twitter. If someone says something's cool on Twitter, I'll just cut and paste it, stick it on Telegram, put their name on it.
There you go.
Sadly, I think that's the direction we're going to have to go, especially with Elon probably not going to get a different deal. We'll see what happens in court. But all these libertarians, especially, they're addicted to Twitter. And I mean, it's because Twitter serves sort of a malignant narcissism for one, the way it's structured. But that's where all the eyeballs are. I mean, you're not on Twitter. You're invisible. Like, nobody cares if you're on. Does Parler still exist? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. Getter, who cares? It was just like boomer Twitter. True Social is not available internationally, so I can't even look at it. I was looking forward to getting on there and getting banned from that too.
Yeah. I think Pug said he already got banned off of it. So
did he?
Yeah. He posted stuff about Iran and Israel, and that was it. So
yep, you're not to learn who rules over you, just see who you're not allowed to criticize.
Yep.
I'm gonna pull up Odysee and let's see what the bigot arena is doing. The very fine people, we call them. Pug got banned from Truth Social. I couldn't even get on.
Yeah,
I couldn't even get on.
If they do a background check, they won't let me on there. I'll get kicked off fast. But
yeah, so Spike Cohen dropped your name saying Reed likes to test drive these things, and if so he just unloads on them with all the stuff you're not allowed to say.
Yeah,
to see how fast or how long it takes to get banned. It's usually not a lot of time. I remember seeing you do that.
Yeah, I did it on Getter. A little bit.
Salvo is 5 million.
Pug is trying to get in. I guess he's in backstage.
Oh well, okay, there he is. Boom. Now we got the band together. Do you got audio, Pug?
Yeah, I can't hear you, Pug. I can just see your sexy face. Can't hear you.
He's just there to pose.
Yeah.
Look
at him. He's all bold coming out with his face since he did it on my show. So
I know. he only comes out when you're around.
I know. I bring it out in him, you know.
Pug, you probably, it's the settings. Go into settings on the bottom and choose the mic that you use. Or maybe I can do that. Can I edit his mic settings? No, I can just do the volume.
Oh, how about that?
Now I can hear you. We can hear you.
Cool.
God damn, I did a tech thing correctly and you didn't. Fucking put that on the calendar.
Yeah, after saying I wasn't here for 10 minutes when I was waiting on you.
I don't know. This is like my second time using this. I thought you send the link and they just show up somehow. But
so you haven't been banned off of StreamYard yet, and they haven't figured it out.
It's on my second time using it, and it doesn't stream to YouTube or any of the mainstream things, so I don't think they even know I'm here yet.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Well, no one had jinxed it yet, but
knock on wood.
I am on Rumble. I was gone for 9 weeks, but they brought me back, so that's the most mainstream thing I have. I wouldn't really call Rumble mainstream, but they are wealthy at least. Yeah. Yeah, they offered Joe Rogan $100 million. So I'm like, you have $100 million? Wow, this is a real platform.
I'm trying to make something out of Telegram, but no one wants to use it. So it's kind of, I mean, they got some people.
You want me to invite people? I'll get some people in there.
Well, yeah. I know the certain type of people like to use it, but
yeah.
Well, that's the thing. No one will go to alt media until they lose their mainstream media. Once they're banned, then they slowly go over to Gab and stuff like that.
I see what you mean by you end up being forced into a group of people you don't necessarily want to associate with, but it's all the people that are there.
Right. Now you know why I have those people around me.
Yes, I get it.
You know, it's like, look, they're inevitable on these alt platforms that they're just all over the place. And I'm like, okay, you say what you want. I'm not going to agree with that. And I'm not going to ban you for that. I only ban people when they actually fed posts or, you know, I had some guy praising Andre Baron Breivik, which is not illegal, but, you know, fuck him. Yeah. Banned him the other day. That's the guy.
The other thing is, like,
I don't know, murdered 72 children in Norway.
The other thing is, I want those people to listen to us instead of, you know, Nazis. So, like, if we're in those groups, if they're going to listen to us, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a good thing. So,
Bug can confirm, right? When I went on Heel Turn and stuff like that, I had like some of their hosts going, "That's a good point." Yeah, my mom says that too. Like, and
it was pretty funny.
I got so much email from people. I think I converted about 30% of the audience. That's why they stopped having me on.
It was like Ryan versus like 5 actual far right guys, which is also it's also interesting to see. You know, as much as people in our spheres get pegged as alt right or whatever, and not alt right, you know, far right. Like it was interesting to see a conversation between Ryan and actual real far right people. You know, like. Because the demarcation lines were pretty stark.
Yeah, well, I found those guys, and they just lost a lot of audience. Like a lot of people that were headed down that racist path. When I started explaining free markets and things as explanations for why this area does better than another, rather than biology, they're like, "Huh, I never thought about that." Like, yeah, and that's the thing. A little bit of sunshine and dialogue would fix a lot of that.
Yeah, my cousin. I was talking to him the other day. And he was just talking to me about like how awful all these like extreme right wingers are or whatever. And I was like, well, you know, if you just tell them they're awful and they're stupid and they, you know, you just rebuke them or whatever, I don't really think that changes their minds. If you talk to them like people and, you know, try to steer them in another direction, that's a lot more effective than just calling them evil. That doesn't really get
you have to answer their grievances, right? So they'll say something like, "Oh, white people have disproportionately invented more stuff in science and this and that," and start naming all the things that, you know, have come out of Europe or the United States. And that isn't
usually not the inventing type that says that either.
No. It's like, yeah, like you're Newton or something. But they'll take a small slice of history and going, yes, that part of the world is very successful from, I don't know, like the 1400s to about the end of the 1800s. But that wasn't because of its biology. I mean, look at that same area before that point. It's because of free markets. It's because of sea trade. It's because of a whole bunch of things. And you can see that around the world. The scientific sphere moves. You know, it was in Persia for a while. It was in Egypt for a while. It was in Japan. It's been in China. It's been in Western Europe. It's been in the United States. And it has everything to do with maritime trade because you trade ideas as well as material and free markets. Even within Greece, you had different city-states. They're all Greek, way more successful than others based on the market system, right? Corinth and Athens, for example, or Sparta. You know, it just not a lot of philosophy coming out of Sparta compared to Athens, right? Or Thales.
Yeah. Right. What Reed was saying about forcing people into echo chambers or whatever about when you come at them in a real hostile way, it makes it harder to change minds and stuff. But like it's just, you know, we talked about the incel stuff a little bit and how, you know, there's always been incels, but now it's gotten to a really toxic point because now they put themselves in an environment where they're only talking to people crazier than them, you know, where they're the only places where they can exist online is in these circles where and the same thing happens with the far right. You know, it's like people that might have some white nationalist tendencies or whatever, when they're not even allowed to talk about it without, except to, you know, I had a username joke, but I'll refrain from, you know, a very extreme person. It just radicalizes people further.
Well, they get all their ideas reinforced. And they're also, when you try to talk, like if you just call a communist, they don't care. They're like, yeah. So if you call an actual Nazi a Nazi, they're like, yeah. And, you know, they don't see a problem with it.
Right,
it's just a weapon used to censor whatever you want. Just yell Nazi at anything, and you know you can get it canceled. It's turned into a weapon. But you also have to, when you approach these people on either side, these brainwashed groups, you have to like acknowledge their grievance ahead of time. For example, for environmental nuts, for example, they'll go on and be like, "Oh, do you know you can run a car on water?" Huh? And you know, you have to say, "Look, I'm not," and because immediately when you start debunking that, they're gonna, "Oh, that you're just big oil," or whatever. Like, I'm not big oil. I don't own a coal fire plant, and I don't benefit from this at all. But I'm telling you, you cannot run a car on water. But you run the car on hydrogen, which is in water. But to get the hydrogen out of the water, you need fossil fuels. But see, for a liberal, you have 3 sets of data, the brain stops. So they're like, "Oh, I'm going to have an electric car. It runs on electricity instead of gasoline." I'm like, "And where does electricity come from?" Well, see, that would have to be
for the environment.
You have fossil fuels that turns into electricity, and that goes to your car. Well, now you have 3 sets of data, and that's too many for their plate, right? Their mind only can handle 1 to 2 data points. Conservatives can only handle 3 to 4 data points, and that's why we're in the problem we're in. Like a conservative, you go, yeah, but the electricity comes from fossil fuels. If you have another data point after that, their head turns off.
Yeah. But you're right. I mean, it's about, like, instead of just calling them what they are, which they're proud to be already in the first place, or just calling them idiots, it doesn't do anything. So you might as well talk to them. And a lot of the people who are like far left or far right, if they're not insane, but they've just been kind of pushed there, they're really open to hearing other ideas, because they've just been so pushed out of the center or whatever. So some of these like legit communists who have just been disenfranchised by, corporatism or something, or some of these legit far right people who are upset about APAC getting away with everything. Like if you talk to them, they'll be like, "Oh," and you say, "Yeah, no, some of what you're complaining about is legit, but then this shit over here, like your economics or your racism or whatever, is just off. That doesn't make any sense." Then they'll be like, "Oh, okay, I'll listen to this guy." So,
I mean, Reed Coverdale used to be a neocon.
It's true.
When he was 5.
Yeah. Well, when I was like 18. So,
that's, and that's what I feel like. A lot of these people are 17, 18, 19 years old, and people around that age can do the whole spectrum from communism to neocon to anarchist to whatever, all, because they're teenagers.
Right.
But if you don't have dialogue, they're going to get sucked into an echo chamber, and then they can't abandon the group. Anybody that's ever got suckered into the alt-right can't really leave because it's the unforgivable sin. Like, say somebody used to be a racist, I talk them out of it. I give better answers to or explanations for, why this group is better than that or whatever. It doesn't matter, because once they've said it once, that follows them around for the rest of their life. And so they might as well stay in the group. Otherwise, they've ostracized themselves from their old group, yet they can't join any new group because there's no forgiveness for that opinion. If you have that opinion ever, it's the scarlet letter for the rest of your life. And I'm like, way to go, guys. By not having forgiveness and acceptance, you're forcing people to have to, stay that way for infinity.
Yeah.
Me and Ryan have talked about this a lot, where it's something that I'll say to normie people in the middle of the spectrum, I guess, pretty often, is when they're being hard to talk to, I'll say, listen, it's easier to talk about these things with people on the far right and the far left than it is with the TV race. They're like, the Fox News, CNN, MSNBC people. Like, and I think people are usually pretty surprised by that because they consider those people so much more radical than them. But it's like, I can talk about COVID stuff with someone on the far left or the far right much easier than someone who watches MSNBC, you know?
Or like someone on the far right, it's a lot easier to tell them that, you know, World War II was really bad, or tell someone on the far left that the Cold War was really bad and the war in Vietnam was really bad, you know, whatever. Like, if you try to tell someone in the center, like, yeah, you know, we probably shouldn't have gotten into World War II, or we shouldn't have tried to end communism by getting involved in the Cold War, they'll be like, what are you talking about? Like, we had to do that, you know? And with some of these fringe groups, they're already like, yeah, no, some of the stuff that we've been told that we had to do, we probably didn't have to do. And then the fringe shit that they're onto that's kind of wacko is a lot easier to breed off of them than it is to get normies to think that, you know, just blowing everybody up isn't the best way to fix everything. It's kind of incredible. But
yeah.
Yeah, I've found the far right are true believers. Like, they really think, we're just talking about racists, let's just say, they're very willing to argue about it because they actually think they're correct, and that the reason other people don't think like they do is because they're not allowed to talk. And it's actually the opposite. If they were allowed to have regular dialogue with normal people, they probably wouldn't have those opinions.
Right.
But a lot of the far left agrees with the right on race. They just think it's socially unacceptable to admit it. So they do all these things where they think all these minority groups are lesser than thou, but they put their role in, well, we have to help them and even things out. But they don't think things are even.
Yeah, that's why they get Bodega Bro fired. Which we were talking about that last night.
Yeah, it's just a fitness guy. Where was he? New York City?
Yeah,
somehow like that.
Are you familiar with this, Reed?
No.
Yeah. Tell him what happened.
There's this they're calling him Bodega Bro, but he was a college football player before, and he's like super into fitness. And he took a job in New York, and he made some TikTok videos saying, you know, when I search for grocery stores in my area, I go and it's this crap, and it shows like these bodegas where it's like there's no. He said, I want milk, cheese, eggs. He said, I can't get that for like 5 miles. It's all just like really trash, you know, like the worst kind of like gas station food, you know.
You couldn't get eggs.
Yeah, he couldn't get eggs, and he could get an egg sandwich, but not eggs. And he made a video about this, and they got him fired from his job, saying that he was being racially insensitive, saying that this was part of the cult because of years of systemic oppression has caused certain racial groups to have to eat low quality food, I guess, and criticizing the food desert is some kind of white privilege or something. It was just it's
so
bizarre.
Infantilizing. It's so retarded.
Yeah.
Like you're acting like people who aren't better off or aren't white or something are stupid and can't take care of themselves or something. But the other thing is, you know, like whether or not something has legitimacy, if you start censoring it, you give it legitimacy anyway. Yep. So like if you started censoring people for saying a plane didn't hit the Pentagon, even though that's bullshit, if you start censoring it, then the people start thinking, oh yeah, that must be onto something because they're not letting me say this or whatever. So whenever you start banning speech, it doesn't do what the people who are banning it want it to do. It just does the opposite.
Yeah. It also makes the kook stuff get worse because, for example, let's say global warming, and it is real for a variety of reasons, whatever. If you will not let anyone disagree or have nuance at all to say, well, how much of it's man-made versus volcanoes and this and that, they're not denying, but they're going to be called that anyway, right? Oh, you're a denier. No, it's not what we've said. But when you do that, you discredit the official narrative because you're like, yeah, that's the official narrative because no one else is allowed to talk. So no one else is allowed to challenge this. So how much credibility does it have when it's the only answer that's allowed? And then what happens is the alarmist is always like the denier and the alarmist. The alarmist saying the world will be gone in 12 years. The world will be, unless we, pass this bill I need from, to make green money. the world's gone in 10 years, the ice caps are melting, blah, blah, blah. Well, those are kooks too, but they don't censor that side because it's the pro warming hysteria. Right. And people will look at that and go, the world's not going to, you said that 8 years ago. Well, we have 4 years left on the, no, right? And that happens with everything else that happens with the Holocaust. You have alarmists and deniers, and like the deniers are usually debunking alarmist stuff, and they're not even looking at the actual orthodox historical claims. They're going, there's no way all these bodies got burned in an oven. And I'm like, yeah, and Raul Hilberg and Deborah Lipschak and all these scholars never claim that. Steven Spielberg claimed that, and Steven Spielberg is full of shit. He's like the loose change of the Holocaust, right? And you get that with things like what my brother discovered with the Croatoan Indian and the colonies of Roanoke. There's all this spooky stuff about dare stones being unearthed and just silly stuff, because people gravitate to that that mystical side of things or whatever. They want a mystery. They don't want it to be solved. But if you're only debunking one side of the kook spectrum, you're discrediting the truthful part, because the alarmists take over and it just gets dumber and dumber and dumber. So I know you had not heard a lot of the stupid exaggerations about the Holocaust, but then I was like, oh yeah, it's because you were homeschooled. So no one ever told you that baloney. But I heard it in school, eagle and a bear and all that stuff. And I just thought, I don't believe this. Now, there definitely was a Holocaust, but a lot of the things said about it are not true. And, they never.
That allure of the esoteric knowledge or whatever, I guess, is why, is probably a lot of the appeal of QAnon and a lot of the COVID conspiracies and stuff like that, because people want to think they've got the goods,
Where's a couple issues like you can't talk about contrails. You cannot give any negative opinion about contrails or 5G or whatever, or COVID-19, because if you do, they're going to go, oh, you a chemtrail person? Right. Oh, you think 5G caused the virus or melts your brain or whatever? Or, oh, you're a virus denier? And because there are kooks that say all three of those things. Like, well, look, baby, I want to talk about contrails and how it affects the weather, cooling patterns on clouds and da-da-da. I'm not talking about chemicals being sprayed out of the back of the plane or anything, but you just can't criticize contrails without being called a chemtrailer, right? You just can't. And you can't say something about how 5G might allow people to quickly steal all your data and facial recognition and da-da-da-da. Yeah. But you can, because then you're like, oh, you're one of these people that thinks it's radiation,
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, like, I don't claim to know things. Like, I don't know that Ziad Jarrah was a Mossad agent. I don't know that, but we should be allowed to ask questions about why he has a cousin and an uncle and the Mossad, and why his voice isn't on the black box, and why they only said there were 3 hijackers on the plane. All this shit
don't match up. He has 2 cousins in Israeli intelligence and an uncle that was a politician.
Yeah, so they're all things we should
with him in the hotels. He's separated from them in the Hamburg cell, even to the hotel in Maryland. They're not together. Yeah. It is weird. I go, well, that's, it's not proof that just because everyone around him was intelligence and he has a really weird behavior and doesn't mean anything. But I was like, yeah, but we have to put all those threads out there, because you don't know what someone else knows. They go, oh, you know what else? Da da da. There's no dialogue. And Reed, this, like, I'm the one that dug that up. And the only people that listened to me were Nelson and Fitzgerald, because the entire 9/11 kook community was like, those phone calls are fake. And it was shot down. And I'm like, okay, phone calls are not fake. It's an air phone. And they're all mentioning 3 hijackers instead of 4. Even the other hijackers don't say his name. He was not piloting the plane minimal. He was just on there being quiet, and nobody saw him, noticed him, or said anything about him. And they decided to switch pilots for some reason, But hey, they found his passport in the debris. So, he definitely was there. There you go. His passport was there. A little corner was burned. That's all.
Yeah. Jackmans too. They also listen to you, the Jackman brothers. But,
oh, I thought you were saying
a lot of people listen now. I mean, like back in 2001, 2, 3, I'm saying like nobody listens because Mike Rivera listened to me, but even he started saying Flight 93 was probably shot down. You know, they inundate you. The kooks, like sometimes you just have to capitulate and go, sure, yeah, bombs in the building, whatever, just to get them off your back because they will sabotage everything you're doing. Any video about anything, I'm talking about Syria, Iraq, whatever, I still have missile tards in the comment. Are building 7 and just going nuts. And
me and Ryan were talking about this last night. I've been like really interested in 9/11 stuff since it happened, and like went to school, studied Arabic literally because I wanted to understand the motivations and stuff, and couldn't trust the media or the people telling me. And I didn't find Ryan until what, like 2016, something like that. And I was very involved in that scene though. Like I seeing loose change, I immediately was like, well, this is ridiculous, and didn't take that seriously. I was more interested in understanding it from the Arab side than anything else. But it's crazy that I wasn't able to find Ryan until so long. I mean, I found Ryan through Adam Green, actually. Like, I was just searching for 9/11 debates and stuff and saw that, and I was like, whoa, who's this guy?
Yeah, I was arguing with this whole audience. Yeah.
And I've been here ever since.
If you don't say a bomb in every window, you're just a government shill. And
it's just sad how easy it is to find bad information and how difficult
they turn the volume up on the bad information. Yeah, all those kook things have 1 billion+ views on YouTube that are denying airplanes, do weapons, administer nukes, missiles, living hijackers, all that crap. The volume's way up. And
even though most people know that I would say the vast majority of people at this point know something's fishy about 9/11. Most people like don't get deeper than Bush did 9/11, and then maybe if they're a little deeper, there's missiles. You know.
The other thing is a lot of people don't even know what to look up. Like, if you look up Glenn Dubin on Wikipedia, it'll lay out like most of the Epstein shit. The same with Les Wexner. Like, it's crazy. Like, you can find it all at the tip of your fingers if you want to, but no one knows who Les Wexner is, or if they do, they just think he's the Victoria's Secret guy.
They think he's the closet homosexual that he was portrayed as in Netflix. Yeah. The thing is, like, if you have the names, if you get some names, once you have that, you can go look up a lot of stuff. Get pretty far. That's why I sell that map. Like, that map's got 70 names on it. And they once you have it, they go, yeah, who is Glenn Dubin or Jess Staley or whatever, you know? And you're like, now you have something to dig through. And then maybe once you have the names and stuff, you find the videos, although all the ones I did on Atwood are gone. They're on Odysee, but you know, that's unsearchable right now. But yeah, they don't know what they don't know. And that's how much, that's why people like us are scary, because I always name all the names. When I did NUMEC, you're not going to hear me say the globalist or the deep state or the Illuminati or the New World Order or whatever. I said the names. And I didn't even just say Jewish Agency and Haganah. I named the agents. I named all of it. You got to give names and details, because that map in the NUMEC film, every character on that map has like a 5-hour backstory, some much longer, like Meyer Lansky or Jeffrey Epstein. They would go on and on forever. But Zalman or Zamuri's another one. Shapiro's another one. I did a little bit on Hank Greenspun, but like each person I'm naming and putting in those maps is like, now that you have that name, Louis Bloomfield or whomever, go digging away, and you're going to be on a huge path of I hate to use the word awakening, red pilling, once you know what to look for. But people don't know that they don't know. I was talking on a British show. They didn't know what the SS Patria was. They knew about the Liberty because people have done a very good job explaining what happened to the US.
Memed that into the societal zeitgeist.
But the same sort of thing happened to a British ship where 55 British sailors were killed, 34
Dude,
on
the
there.
Patria is worse because it's full of Jews escaping from, or not escaping, but leaving Palestine, and they killed a ship with a bunch of their own people on it.
Well, hundreds of people died.
Aligned. Yeah.
Hundreds of Jews died, and 55 British servicemen died, and those who were rescued were by Palestinian fishermen.
Yeah.
They went and got them. Yeah, it was Zionist Jews killing other Jews because they wanted to maintain a Jewish demographic majority there in Haifa. And it's disgusting. They don't know all these acts of terrorism. Whenever the Israelis or the Jewish Agency or the Haganah or Birchall or whatever does it, it's erased. Like, it's just erased from history. Blow up a hotel, blow up an embassy, grenade someone's house. It's not there. And you can see that in real time. How many times has Israel attacked Syria? Even a domestic airport in Damascus. Not one time has it been on any three-letter network, not even Tucker. Like, nobody. It is totally invisible. You have a country's Air Force invading their neighbor and blowing things up. That's an act of war. Silence. Yeah. Imagine if Syria had attacked Israel with warplanes. Oh, it would be, alarm bells going off, people knocking on your door to tell you about it. There'd be blimps in the air. Syria attacking Israel. I mean, it would never end.
The other thing is,
even
I was talking to my uncle a few months ago, and he didn't know the difference between like Hezbollah and ISIS and Al Qaeda and Sunnis and Shias. Like, he doesn't understand that there's these massive differences. To him, it's just all Muslims. And I also told him
there's a towel head,
a bunch of towel heads. Yeah,
I also told
that's
him
what
about
they say around.
I also told him about the Patria, and that blew his mind too, because like the way they look at it like Christian, Muslim, Jews, and the Jews are on the Christian side against the Muslims, when they don't realize like Christians and Jews and Muslims with Saudi Arabia, Israel, and the United States all work together against other Muslims. And that Jews killed other Jews with the Patria. It's like all political motivation. It's not, I mean, there are some religious differences, but I don't think that's what actually drives it. It's mostly about money and power and influence.
Yeah, look up the ringworm radiation testing they did in Israel on Sephardic Jews.
Yeah,
and I've got a lot of Christian evangelical types in my family and where I'm from and stuff. And one thing I love pointing out is a lot of the time they don't realize that Christianity actually has more in common with Islam than it does with Judaism, or not. And it's they think that they don't understand that, like, in Gaza, it's the Christians being bombed. They think that it's their Christian moral obligation to support Israel in their bombing of other Christians.
Well, Ryan,
they
that story you
Santa
tell
Claus in Bethlehem.
Ryan, that story you tell about the church that they burned, where the baby died after the Jewish terrorist attacked it or whatever.
Like, well, they burned the Church of Miracles for one, which is where Jesus allegedly stood and divided the loaves of bread and fish. They burned it.
Yeah,
historic, like Byzantine level, like half of it was Byzantine, and they burned it all the way down to the basement. And then, baby Ali, his family, his younger sibling, which was a baby, was burned to death. Both his parents were burned to death. He was 3 years old at the time. Robert and Lakesh actually went and visited him, and he's missing fingers and stuff. And the settlers go up with their finger like this, being like, "You're next. We're going to burn you next." They harass this kid, this little kid. He was like 7 years old. His face is burned. Like, they got 10 months administrative detention, were let out. They were laughing in the courtroom. Nobody cared. They had to do something because it was bad PR. I remember putting something on about Jewish supremacy, burning babies, and they even went to a wedding. And this is a whole room full of adults, okay? A whole room full of adults parading around this kid's picture and stabbing it with a knife and just singing and celebrating how because they burned a whole bunch of houses down and they killed these innocent Palestinian family. The level of hatred, can you imagine a group of adults stabbing the picture of a baby? Like, oh, one of them survived.
Well, yes, but just because of all the abortion protests going on right now in the United States.
Technically, a pregnant woman taking a bath is a human submarine. I'm going to tell you some facts I learned from my 4-year-old because he's a little genius and I like bragging about him.
Did you hear that story about the woman in Texas in the HOV lane? And the cop pulled her over and she's like, I'm pregnant. I've got someone else in the car with me. I thought it was fun.
I have someone else in the car. Technically,
yeah.
You know, if you're going to go that, if you kill a pregnant person, I think you do get charged for 2 murders.
You do. So you got to apply the law equally. So, yeah, I think she's got a
What
case,
if you had twins? Maybe there's 3 people in the car.
Yeah.
You know, but how do they know it's not a ginger?
Yeah, that's true. Because then we're not talking people anymore.
No, you're just spawning more demons into the world. So I like this little thing. Octopi, which is the plural for octopus. I did know that. They have 8 legs. They actually favor 4 of their legs over the other 4 legs, just like we have right-handed and left-handed people. I didn't know that. And the side of the legs they favor becomes their front because they don't really have a front, but because there's eye on both sides, but they go toward those 4 more often. And then he comes back yesterday and he says, Dad, you know, some 9% of people are left-handed and you have right-handed people or most people, and there's both-handed people. They're called ambidextrous. I go, I knew that. And he goes, and there's neither-handed people. I go, I didn't know there was neither-handed people. And he said, yeah, we call them women behind a steering wheel.
That's good.
Like, okay, somebody was listening to me tell jokes. Yeah, no-handed people. Neither-handed people. That's why I say, I was like, when I'm driving in Japan, I'm like, it's scary. Everybody around me is Asian. And I'm on the road. No. Half the drivers are Asian females.
Yeah, there's no middle ground with Asian drivers. They're either drifting around you in a circle or driving up the wrong lane. Yeah.
Asian female drivers are a hazard. I should just, you know, I'm not one for passing laws, but that's a law. What's that, Ryan?
I don't think it's if they're Asian or not. I think it's just being too short to see over the dashboard or whatever. See, we can make those jokes, but man, if we said a joke about one of the privileged classes, you're out, you know. And it's just, what is it Sam Hyde says, Pug?
Is that offensive? Is that true enough to be offensive?
Right.
Is it true enough to be racist?
Is it true enough to be offensive? It's like, so if you actually believe it, that's why you get offended by it. I don't actually think Asians are bad drivers. I don't think most people do. It's just sort of a stereotype, whatever. And
I'll go on the record as saying I think Asians are bad drivers. So at least ones in America.
More.
So,
yeah. I think it's also that could be because the average age of Asians in the United States is like 20 years older than, say, Hispanics, and so older people can't drive. Or do you think it's just Asians?
From my experience, and this is obviously generalizing, but it's been Asians and Indians, and Indian, not Indian. So they're the two that can't drive. So,
not feather. Right. The bobblehead.
See, I can make jokes because Ryan's on here and he's Native American, so I can get away with it. But
that's right. Well, see, we can make jokes about Indians and Asians and the other Indians, dot, not feather, all that stuff. But you can't touch blacks or Jews or certain groups because liberals actually think they are less than now.
Yeah.
Back to
how true does it have to be considered racist? Nobody cares if they said American Samoans run the banks.
Right.
It just sounds dumb. But replace that with a different word, and people lose their minds.
Or if you're doing an impression,
transgenders run the banks,
or whatever.
No,
if you're doing an impression of a certain group, people won't get offended by your impression of someone unless it's actually got a grain of truth in it. You know,
I know a guy that thought homosexuals took over advertising agencies, and like every commercial was run by the gays.
That's funny. But like back to the Twitter stuff, you know, and like the narrative control, like if with like the mass shooters and stuff, if they have certain affiliations, their entire social media is going to be on every mainstream media news outlet, every single publication. If they have other affiliations, or if they're from other groups, their entire social media gets taken down immediately. Like this most recent Antifa shooter guy, all his social media got wiped immediately. And, you know, if he had been a TRS follower or something, you'd have every bit of that on every single news network. So
yeah. What's with this shooting in Japan, Ryan? I didn't think guns were allowed in Japan. I don't understand.
Well, he didn't use a gun. He built a little hand cannon and shot him basically with a pipe bomb with one end open. I just streamed about it yesterday. I actually went to the hardware store where he got his supplies. I went to where he used to work. He ran a forklift until May. I went to his house. He's got an older brother and a sister living there still. His mother went bankrupt, giving all their money away to the Unification Church after his father died. His father owned a construction company that she inherited, and she squandered it all, dissolved in 2009. He got out of the Defense Force in 2005. It was just like going from one job to another, really no stability. It's sad because he went to an elite high school and very smart, very athletic. But he just felt like since he was a little kid that this church had broken his family apart and ruined his childhood. And his uncle lives in Osaka, and he was saying, yeah, I mean, the kids would write to me and call to me and say, we don't have any food. We don't have anything. And he would have to go bring them food and send them money because the mom, anytime she got a penny, she gave it to the church. She probably basically just lost her mind when the father died and, you know, fell in love with Jesus or whatever. It's this Nicene Christian cult out of South Korea, the Unification Church, and it's really a political organization that's hell-bent on unifying the two Koreas, masquerading as theology. But they sucker these people in to giving everything. They don't, even if the person is like flat broke, they're like, we'll go, you know, mortgage your house and get an equity loan and give that to the church. Like we're this close to bringing Jesus back for the second coming if we just get another $1,000 or whatever. And she was one of these kooks that squandered the family fortune on a church. And he thought that Abe was part of this church or associated with it because his granddad was. He was wrong. He's basically falling for far left internet propaganda, which Stryker and a lot of these kooks are doing right now. Abe was part of Nippon Kaigi, which is a hardcore right-wing Japanese nationalist, changed the constitution to allow Japan to remilitarize Shinto monarchy. Like that's what they want, to install the emperor back into power, remilitarize Japan, Shogun too, you know. That's what Abe was into. And he really did try to amend Article 9 through Article 90. I've got interviews about that. But he was a hardcore Japanese nationalist. Hates communists, hates China. The Moonies, which is the Unification Church, is in South Korea, hell-bent on uniting South Korea and North Korea together. And it's a Nicene Christian cult that suckers people into giving all their money to them. They also hate communists in China. So the overlap that the two groups have, and they do not want a remilitarized Japan run by the emperor. Trust me, nobody in South Korea wants that. But they all hate communists. And so they got along. Abe's grandfather, who was also a prime minister, you know, got along with this church because they own a lot of media. They own conservative media in the United States. This is not some dinky cult. It's a cult, but it isn't small. They've got a lot of influence, a lot of money, and they kind of teamed up on the anti-communist front. But that is where the overlap begins and ends. After that, that's it. Shinzo Abe was definitely a Japanese nationalist and didn't give a damn whether Korea is united or not or whatever. He wanted the glory of old Japan. And you can, you know, maybe disagree with that, fine, but that's not why he shot him. He shot him because the propagandists always associate Abe to this Korean church. They always call him and his grandfather war criminals, or he visited the shrine or that, and he's a war criminal.
Oh, they call my granddad that too.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Well, yeah, your Pug's ancestor was a Confederate general, an anti-slavery Confederate general at that. But which most of them were actually.
That doesn't narrow it down that much.
It really does. There's only like 2 that weren't. But what was I saying? Yeah, so they'll say, "Oh yeah, you're going to the shrine of war criminals and all these people that killed all these Koreans and Chinese." Okay, when you go to Vietnam Memorial, are you there to celebrate murdering 2 million Vietnamese people, or are you just honoring the dead Americans? You're honoring the dead Americans. Or you're just looking at it, man, what a shame. What a stupid war. Look at all these names, 55,000 names on a wall. That really lets it sink in that how large that number is. Whatever. Everybody visits veterans' graves and things in Japan. They're going to pay homage to it. That doesn't mean they agreed with World War II where they want to go annex Manchuria or whatever. They're just honoring the dead. But no, there's no nuance in the liberal brain. It's like you went to the grave and a certain portion of people buried there are war criminals. Like everybody be a war criminal depending on who won. You don't think nuking cities is a war crime, killing babies and everything, boom, erasing a whole city full of people? I mean, damn,
exactly.
They didn't do that, right? America did it twice. And the firebombing of Tokyo and Dresden and Cologne and Hamburg. I mean, these are all horrific, definitely war crimes. You are targeting civilians.
No, those only killed people, only killed people in Tojo's high command and then like SS commandants in Hamburg,
Nagasaki was not even a military target. They just bombed it because the weather didn't permit them to hit what they wanted to hit. And they just said, just put it on this one. It's got mountains.
Neither was Dresden, was it?
Dresden was not a military target, no. But they burned it. They burned it, and then they burned the fire trucks. There's molten, asphalt with human fat mixed in it, and just disgusting. And they melted these people. Yeah. War is hell. But the U.S., they always act like Sherman because they're like, well, if you win, you get to write the history book. And that reminds me of the Norm Macdonald book, the joke of the meme. He's got like opening this book. He goes, wow, look here. According to this, it says the good guys won every time. What are the odds?
Thank God.
It's true.
But he shot him because, so he went and he made, I'm not going to say what the propellant was, but he put propellant in pipes, basically, like a potato gun. He ran wires into the back, hit the grill starter as a trigger, got 2 shots, the doom. And you can see the whole Japanese crowd, they don't react. They don't know what a gun is. They don't know what a bang is. Nobody hit the deck. Nobody ran. And nobody even screamed. They just kind of like, what's going on? They couldn't even believe they saw someone shot in front of them. They just thought, did Abe fall down? What happened? Was there a heart attack? They didn't know. I went there yesterday to Yamato Saidaiji, and there was, I have a video of this, but a block by block line, 5 blocks down, I counted, of people to give flowers to Shinzo Abe. They had a couple long tables out there just collecting bouquets. And that went on all day, and that's been going on for days. People lining up and giving flowers to Abe.
I've got a hand cannon right here.
Yeah.
Your brother would like this one. It's a flintlock. So, yeah.
He would. I had my sister and I went to my great-great-granddad's cabin, which is right next to my dad's cousin's house in Featherstone on the former Lee properties. And she got a gun from the Civil War, and I got a big gun from the Revolutionary War. And we just kind of pointed them, no ammo, pointed them across the Potomac at Maryland, just in the general direction of the Yankees. Picture in front of the cabin. It's on. But yeah, she's got guns from the Revolutionary War that Dawson's used and the Civil War.
That's cool.
I went metal detecting at an old battlefield with, I don't know, I'm supposed to be able to admit to that, but it was with Hank Williams Jr. that had made that happen, and he found an old rifle, like metal detecting, out in the field. It's pretty cool.
My brother has found so many things, obviously. So many,
right.
all through Virginia and Carolina, because Virginia is Civil War Central, right? That's where the majority of the war happens. And then he's found all the Native American stuff down there. And he found Fort Raleigh, he found the Lost Colony, he found a bunch of things down there in the Carolinas. We got 109er from P1 Dizzy and says, can we divert for a moment to July 24th, the next Four Horsemen? Thank you for your tenacity, gentlemen. Boom.
Jeremy Kaufman.
Yeah. Make the bombs gayer.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, he's coming on?
Yeah.
Yep.
Future That's senator awesome. Of New Hampshire.
That's right.
Where's your hat, Pug?
Yeah, you're kind of
I didn't get one. I need one.
So I had the trucker hat that Reed's wearing, and I guess this is like the ant cap colors, even though I'm not an anarchist. I just like the colors. And I was like, choose. I figured Reed would choose trucker, but I was like, whatever he gets, because I wanted Jackman and Coverdale and I to have the same one. And so I was waiting for you to choose before I gave Pug a hat. And then I got Corona and and so he never got a hat.
So Pug, I think Ryan actually is an anarchist, just in a smart way. So
that's what I was thinking.
He's
said, I'm not an anarchist.
He's from the Outer Banks where there's no cops.
Right.
And if he lived in New Hampshire, he wouldn't want cops either. He'd be the same way. Like he's a practical anarchist.
I'm an anarchist in the Larkin Rose way, but I don't want to call myself an anarchist because of all the idiot anarchists. Just like 9/11
completely
Truth.
Fair.
I never call myself a 9/11 truther. I'm like, no, I'm not one of those. I don't believe in the official story, and I'm definitely truthful about 9/11, but I cannot use that tag because it's associated to fucking morons, you know. And same with anarchy. It's like, oh, geez, no.
Well, it's the problem is with every group now, like libertarian, even. It's like, you know, what do they think? Gary Johnson or like, you know, like it's hard.
Yeah, so. Exactly.
Joe Jordanson that wanted to put Dershowitz on the Supreme Court.
Exactly.
I always make a point to, and speaking of the anarchism stuff, I always clarify that ethically, I mean, I believe in a lot of anarchist principles. Practically,
yeah,
someone like it's not going to work unless we're all Ron Paul. You know,
well, it's kind of like
an island like Ocracoke or something when you scale down the population to that size, but it's not going to work with 300 million people.
It's almost like, well, actually, I don't know what your religious beliefs are, Pug, but I know Dawson and I are kind of in the same area. It's almost like I don't need religion for myself to keep myself in line, but at the same time I realize like some people being scared of going to hell actually keeps them from doing terrible shit. So it's almost like, well, you know, some people aren't ready to not believe in God. Some people aren't ready for anarchy. So it's kind of the same vein.
Nietzsche talked about that a lot. Like, you know, obviously with everyone always says the death of God.
Oh yeah, you're a Nietzsche geek. I forgot about that. But
the whole death of God thing, like if you read that parable of the madman, he's saying that we aren't great enough. You've killed God, but you can't handle the gravity of that task. Like he's like, what tombs are we gonna, what festivals shall we invent for our atonement? You know, like things. And that he also said at one point that one of the things that he was very grateful to Christianity for was that it taught even the lowest criminals expected to tell the truth when they swear on a Bible, you know, and like the idea of reverence is just completely foreign to most people outside of a religious context.
Yeah.
So
have you ever heard of the Pelosai?
No.
Okay. It's a demon. And a lot of like the Cherokee had this, a lot of Eastern Indians had this belief. There's this demon in the dark lands, and the dark lands are out west because where the sun sets, right? Because the sun disappears. That's where the darkness is. And there's a kind of hell. I think it's called Sheol. Everything is cold and dark, not hot like the Christian hell. It was freezing and dark and just terrible. And there's the darkness demon is called the Pelosai. And I thought that is weird because Pelosi does live in San Francisco, which is the furthest western part of the continent that they would have known about. She's a demon of darkness.
That's funny.
Hey, Ryan, I'm going to try to, let me see. All right, I'm trying to share the screen. Does that show up on your?
Yeah, grab it.
Click on that for a second. So yeah, just while we're talking about the Four Horsemen, we got these shirts for sale now. If you just go to toplobster.com and you go to the Naturalist Capitalist section, you can go there. They got them small through 5X, I think. And You can get them in black or green, but you can wear me, Jackman, and Dawson's face around everywhere and promote the brand.
I gotta get that. You
that
can
makes,
wear it with your anarcho-capitalist.
That makes you Freddie Mercury, right?
Yeah, I know.
Well, he's got the mustache, so
yeah, that's true.
And he's gay and gonna die of AIDS, but
yeah, I'm just liberty gay. It's like a different thing, you know. We're all
you and Clint, though. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess if you survive a car accident together, you're bonded.
Yeah, it does weird things. So
you saying homosexuality's weird? What you saying, Pete?
or ridden with DJ, right? That's close enough.
Literal can't say anything without saying re. You can Israel that if you like.
Yeah.
Yeah, P1 busy with the fucking major cherry poppage there on Odysee, 109, 109.
The other thing, since we're talking about Twitter and shit, I know you've been on Substack for a while, Ryan, but now Eric and I are using it too. And I got up to 100 pretty fast, which is cool. So, and that's it seems pretty like they don't ban people. Like, I mean, you're still on there, so that's a good litmus test.
I'm on there, but I kind of pump the brakes on certain things, but because I can't afford to get banned on other shit. But yeah, Substack is cool. It'll tell you who's recommended you and stuff, but it tells you who recommended you through their Twitter and all, which I don't have. I am recommending people, but I'm doing it on Telegram and other things, VK and stuff, which Substack doesn't have a way of knowing. But I did share yours. I shared Jackman's just this morning. They wrote a good article on MBS, excuse me. And I just did a Press TV interview about him and Biden yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like that, though. It sends it straight, for anyone who doesn't know, it sends it straight to your email. You just subscribe, and we can just do like newsletters, basically, and we can put links in them. Yeah, it's free. We can do a paid subscription, too. Mine's free right now. So
it's free, but you can sell your T-shirts and stuff like that. You know, my brother has one. He started it on Friday. He doesn't have the paid thing set up, but if you want to follow Scott Dawson on there, I will have that link on ANC Report shortly, and it'll also be in Telegram. And we really rely on y'all to share stuff. If you guys still have Facebook and Twitter and where that is, share away, because we're not allowed.
Yeah, Pug, how do you feel being the upper echelon elitist here who still has Twitter access? Must be nice.
I don't really. I mean, I have an account that I've never tweeted anything. Like,
I know.
It's just a news feed. But then I do have a secret one for trolling that gets burned pretty often.
We'll just say I have a very heavy influence in the Libertarian Party New Hampshire account now. So.
I need to have the Libertarian Party of Hatteras Island or something.
You do? That one?
I need to do.
People were asking me
what your brother it was.
Your brother's not banned, right?
He doesn't computer.
Oh, well, you can just have him set it up and then give it to you.
He can't set that up.
People were asking me what airline I took out here, and I posted the picture that the New Hampshire Libertarian Party posted of you with the selfie stick in the plane.
Yeah, the New Hampshire Libertarian Party posted that. It wasn't me or anything.
Right.
But.
Totally not me. This New Hampshire Libertarian Party's gotten base all of a sudden. Way better than what's it? The Texas one? What's the fake one?
Oh, dude, the Texas one's awful. Yeah. There's a few of them that most of them are better now since Reno, but a couple of them are still fucking dumb. But yeah. New Hampshire's, we're like the McHale's Navy of the Libertarian Party. We're kind of based more than the other ones.
If I stay in America, if I don't if I don't relocate here permanently, or I might do like half and half of the year, but I'm looking at going to New Hampshire for sure. Y'all are doing some really cool stuff out there, and
man,
I'd love to be a part of it.
Well, we're like so advanced here that the only thing holding up weed legalization in New Hampshire is actually the free staters. And the reason is because right now with the bill that would legalize marijuana, they'd have insane taxes on it and shit. Right. And you already don't,
that's awesome.
You already don't get in a lot of trouble if you get caught with marijuana. So the free staters are like, no, we're not going to legalize it until you get rid of all this
bullshit regulation. We're not going to legalize. That is awesome.
That's like how far ahead we are here.
That's like the most base reason to be against weed legalization.
Dude, because weed is so much cheaper in New Hampshire than in Massachusetts or Maine or Vermont, because it's legal in all those places, but they tax the shit out of it. Oh, yeah. So we're like, if we're going to legalize it here, there's going to be none of that shit. Like, it's easier to get it on the black market right now. So
that's what Best Buyers. She went to the city council in Washington, somewhere in Washington. She was going off on that when they legalized it, but they taxed it, and the money went to just the worst of the things of the healthcare industrial complex. And she went ham on them for that. She had all the stats and numbers and things, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the devil's lettuce. I think it'll make you.
I'm not either. I've actually,
me either.
I've never actually smoked it, but
Reefer Madness.
Yeah,
or at least you didn't inhale.
Yeah, I didn't inhale at least. Yeah, but I just don't want people getting in trouble for it because I don't give a fuck. I also am not a fan of Thai food, so I wouldn't be doing well where Pug is right now. But I think
you don't like buffalo fetus liver.
Sounds pretty good.
When the abortion decision came down, I was literally eating this like buffalo fetus dish. And then I stepped on a snake wearing this shirt, which is
ironic.
Second time. Yeah.
I had to pay my taxes wearing this shirt.
Based.
Before we
got bikinis and everything with that on it now. We're gonna be going styling and profiling in Carolina soon.
What were you saying,
next meetup, I can wear a bikini.
Didn't you do that? Well, you had a onesie last time.
Yeah, for the new version of the calendar, right?
I could do a boys calendar and put you in charge of that.
We got so many requests.
Me and Clint.
Oh yeah. Don't show those pictures. Hunter's laptop bad enough.
Yeah.
Dude, these motherfuckers up there fingering his butthole for 10 minutes and dude, they're so degenerate. Disgusting.
So is this all rather exonerating, Ryan? All this shit coming out the last couple days about Hunter? I mean,
I need a shirt that just says "Told you so."
Yeah.
Maybe I should just put my head on the shirt and be like, "I told you," or "I warned you," or something like that. Like, yeah, it is. It's vindicating, yet not, because a lot of people don't know that I had most of this out in 2020, and they've
never seen Corn Pop.
It's probably from. Can we say Pug? Mr. K in New Zealand.
Oh yeah, so I've got a theory on this, or not, at least a hypothesis. So are you familiar with Kim.com? I haven't seen anyone talk about this. This is just some dots I connected. So like
exclusive to ANC report.
Kim.com is a very interesting character. He's the guy that made Mega Upload, and he was a hacker from Europe that ended up making Mega Upload that became huge. And he had this like crazy lifestyle. He didn't drink or party or anything, but he'd throw these giant parties and stuff. And he had all these yachts and planes and but he's a big giant man, but very interesting personality. He got raided by the U.S. government in New Zealand though for like piracy, and they full on SWAT raid and stuff. And he's gotten extremely base because of as hard as the U.S. government's gone after him. Like his pinned tweet is something like, "I never lived in the U.S., never even been there, never had a company there, yet they've seized everything I ever worked for." And he had been saying for a while though that he had all the Biden info, and he's a hacker that became extremely wealthy, and his case is going through the U.S. courts right now. And he's had all the Biden laptop stuff for a long time. He was also the biggest supporter of WikiLeaks. He gave them more money than anybody. And he had been saying for a while that they're just waiting to censor out some stuff before WikiLeaks drops certain stuff on that. But anyway, the day his criminal conviction the first criminal conviction goes through in the U.S. courts is the day that a New Zealand anon, like a 4chan user from New Zealand, which is where he's at, posts the iCloud backup with all the passwords. It had cracked everything basically. So I have a hypothesis that it might be him, or at least adjacent to him, just based on the geography of where it was from and also the timing of when it was dropped. And it would be pretty cool. He's got a big. He's very angry with the Bidens for a long time because Joe Biden was involved in going after his company back in the Senate. But that's.
Mike and Eric are watching this, and they just messaged me. They know about this. I hadn't heard about it though. So.
Oh, Kim.
Hey, yeah. Pug. How many websites do I have? Websites. 1. You got 7 different websites. No, I have 1 website, and I've got a bunch of video platforms, and I have a bunch because, for example, I was banned from Rumble for 9 weeks, right? Not everybody can get on VK. Odysee shits the bed periodically, so I have to be on a bunch of things. I have Gab and Telegram and all these apps. So does everybody. Like if you have a Facebook and Instagram and a Twitter, are those all your websites? No, those are your apps. I have 1 website. All my movies, all my MP3s, all my everything are on ancreport.com. It's not confusing unless you're a pothead. Then everything's confusing.
If you can get us on YouTube, we'll be happy to consolidate.
Yeah, you can get my YouTube channel back, I will be fucking there. You know, it ain't. So it is what it is.
Yeah, any self-respecting journalist has 10, outlets right now, because then when 6 of them are banned, you can still use the other 4. So that's how we got to be.
Rise 2 Cents is now the chat so dumb. Rise 2 Cents is a porn site. Somebody grabbed my URL and is now like,
yeah, sure. And he's not an anarcho-capitalist either, by the
way. He's an Ocracoke. He's an anarcho-coke capitalist. I don't know. He's for it on Ocracoke Island.
The most annoying thing about pot smoking is having to deal with people who smoke. It's like you're fucking dumb,
bro. I lived in Portland for a while. You're telling me?
Like, shut up. The thing is, like, they think they're right. I'm like, you are too stupid to communicate with. Okay, like my 4-year-old is smarter than you.
Except Scott
Horton. They don't understand. You're just like that when you're high. No, it's cumulative. If you smoke weed every day and you're totally sober, you're still a fucking idiot and an asshole. Because an idiot that doesn't know he's an idiot is also an asshole. You're a fucking idiot, asshole, pothead. You made yourself retarded because it kills your brain cells and destroys your coping mechanism and your threshold for stress. All that's gone when you smoke weed. You fucking dumbass. Put down the fucking joint. Or just admit
whoever's triggering Ryan, please stop.
Political stuff. If you're fucking stupid, okay? This is for adults. We're grown-ups, okay? You don't get to have opinions about this stuff because you're dumb.
Holy shit.
Oh my God.
Okay? This is a public
whoever's triggering Ryan, please cut it out.
If you want to smoke weed, but don't be a rocket scientist or whatever. Like, it's like, fine. Go watch SpongeBob and eat cereal. That's a nice fucking role for you. Okay? Do not try to handle geopolitics. Or tell somebody about like, I'm confused about where your movies are. They're all on ANC Report. It's written on my fucking head. But okay.
There's only one exception I know of, and it's Scott Horton. I don't know how he has the memory he does with all those. He smokes weed all the time. But yeah, aside from him,
there are some people like that. I mean, there's some people who drink every day. Yeah, I would still not recommend that for the other 99%, right?
Exactly.
There are functional alkies that just drink all the time, and yet they write books and they do it. And Horton's
there's functional heroin addicts, like extremely functional. You'd be amazed, but we're talking a very
Adam Kokesh. No, I'm just
one of the 3 people on this.
Functional.
I'll tell you what happened to Adam. I'll tell you. Well, I was going to say this. I'll say it again when he comes on. I'll tell you, Adam, how we need to fix things. You just need to vote harder. You didn't vote hard enough.
I guess we'll save what we'll announce it the month of, but Adam Kokesh is a future Four Horsemen guest. So
nice.
We're gonna do it.
I'm not an idiot. I've been smoking for 20 years and I did well in school. Great. You know what school is? Obedience training. You did all your obedient work. You did the homework they gave you. You recited the shit in the back of the chapter in the front, like, you're not smart because you got a GPA of whatever. Fuck off, dude. Weed makes you dumber. Maybe you'd be even smarter if you weren't smoking pot. There's no fuck. This is do you even science? Like, when you smoke weed, it makes you dumber than you were before. That's a fact. When you drink, you are less coordinated than when you're sober. Fact. And you're like, well, I can still drive when I'm drinking. Maybe you can. Maybe you.
I drive better when I'm drunk.
You've not yet. You didn't get in a car wreck. That doesn't negate the evidence, right? You're like, what about this allegorical thing? Like, oh,
I've never been in a car wreck and died. Not even once.
Yeah.
Not even once.
Never killed somebody in my car when I was drinking. Like, yeah, well, most people do. You know, and most people smoking weed are fucking stupid. And they're ignorant of their own ignorance. They go and talk about stuff. I guarantee you, the people that think you can run a car on water and the earth's flat and that kind of stuff, who are adults, you cannot have those opinions without drugs. You can't naturally be that stupid. I'm not saying you're going to be that stupid if you smoke. Like we just said, there are people like Scott Horton. There are people who smoke, drink, or even do heroin who are functional. It's possible. But the odds are the other direction. It makes you dumber.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, when I go off on alcohol, like, you could sleep with an ugly person, you could do all the shit that alcohol leads to. Some people get in fights. Not everyone. I drink, Pug drinks, Reed drinks. We don't go and getting in fights and sleeping around and stuff, but people do. No alcoholic gets mad and denies it, right? Like, yeah, nobody sits and has an argument and be like, I can drive, there's always that guy, I guess, but they fucking admit
That's a girl.
it. Like,
that's a girl.
I like to drink, but I admit that it's bad for your liver, it's bad for your brain. They admit all the negatives. But with pot, holy fuck, it's a cult. It's like, no, there are no negative effects to smoking weed. It actually expands your mind and makes you smarter. It only kills the weak brain cells. It's like evolution, dude. And then it's like the smarter ones keep multiplying, and then rainbows.
It's like Bitcoin. Like, I mean,
it's a cult.
Like, I'm not saying Bitcoin doesn't have its benefits. Like, you can't make money off it or something, but holy fuck, Bitcoiners are just like religious about it. Yeah, it's crazy.
But kind of adjacent. One of the things that we were talking about yesterday, I wanted to wait until you were on to mention it, though. Elon Musk backing out of the Twitter deal or whatever is big news right now, and he said that it was because of them not handing over certain data about bots and stuff. And we talked about this back when he first started talking about buying it. Everybody thought he had already bought it the day that he made an offer, and we laid out basically the process for buying a company that big, and mentioned that even if it does go through, it's probably not going to be till like November, because you're not going to buy a house without looking inside the house, right? And so first thing, he had to make a legitimate offer. Then they have to go over a bunch of internal stuff, like show him the books and show him a bunch of things that you wouldn't be privy to if you don't get to just go in anyone's house. But if you're buying the house, they're going to let you in to look around. And it's like that on a much grander scale. And then after that, regulatory bodies have to okay a lot of it, and especially with a company that big. And even back then, I said, I'm not convinced, even if we've got the best possible version of Elon Musk doing this, who's actually trying to do all the things we want him to do, I'm not convinced that the government would let him. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if you had some intelligence come in and be like, look, if you do this, you can't touch A, B, and C because this is national security. And so that's like aside from all the economic, like SEC and all that. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it was actually, if social media was weaponized in a way like that, or at least like there's programs that he wouldn't be allowed to touch. And anyway, so he said the bots, but one thing that most people, when they think of the word Twitter bot or whatever, they're just thinking someone who disagrees with me online, which is not.
Which is what Democrats mean when they say bots, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. and they say it a lot. But there's a lot of things you can do with bots. Personally, I guess it's not illegal, so I can say it. I used to have like 20. I never even used Twitter personally, but I had like 22,000 accounts because I had a internet marketing agency where I would use things in the way people tend to think. But then there's also bots can do things like data analysis, like signal analysis. They can. It's useful for more than just disagreeing with you, And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the, everyone's assuming when he says bots, they're just talking about the number of users being inflated and inflating the value, which is definitely true, and everyone knows it. But there's also probably a bunch of CIA bots on there, and I don't just mean accounts. I mean automation of whole armies, and data analysis. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if he was told he was not allowed to touch those certain networks.
So you think that's why he's backing out of it, or?
I think it's probably a lot. I think it's obviously not worth what. The only value, it doesn't make money in the first place. The only reason it's worth anything is for like narrative control, kind of like most media, but even more so. So I mean, I think that's part of it.
Twitter's down 11% today since trading opened. Nice,
and that could be a big part of it too. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he was just using this to make more money in one way or another. But
I also I think, it's possible that Twitter is not the future. Like Twitter was, how long has Twitter been big? Like 10 years, 15 years, maybe 10 years, somewhere around there.
08 or something like that.
Yeah. So in 2005, no one gave a fuck about Twitter. Right. But now it's like the biggest thing in the world. So there could be something that nobody gives a shit about right now that could overtake Twitter later and be the next big thing. So right. I don't think all hope for narrative control is Truth Social. That's going to be it.
It could be the next one. It could be the biggest thing.
I think the majority of his interest in Twitter to begin with was not necessarily because of its viability in the future, but more for the natural language programming data set.
For AI.
He's really involved in AI, and Twitter, if you have the raw data from Twitter, that would probably be the most useful tool you could possibly have for building an AI or training an AI. And I wonder how it would turn out. It'd be like the opposite of the 4chan AIs. That tend to say pretty offensive things.
Gets the data he wanted because he's going to court?
I don't know. Like that's a possibility. He might be locked out of that. Reed, did I send you where I got the AI to? I said be Ryan Dawson and got it to write out. It was like bust international pedophile ring, have banks shut down, be called Nazi, like all this.
Yeah, incredibly accurate.
Yeah,
pretty much how it went.
So Ryan, I just you lost your big account in 2020 from Black Lives Matter went after you?
2019 maybe. 2020? No, it was before COVID. Yeah, 2019. It was after Epstein got arrested, just barely after. And I was like, he's gonna die.
Okay, so that's
I think the last thing I tweeted was like Rodney Mullins broke physics, which is true. Professional skateboarder. He's really good. He broke physics. Yeah, it was 2019, I believe. But whenever Black Lives Matter was going nuts, they had a thing in Osaka. They're all threatening to kill me and beat me up and stuff. So I just went there in Confederate everything. Same shirt I wore to the New Mech thing. And
I brought you that shirt.
Say in real life. I'm like, yeah, this is
that shirt from H.K. Egerton.
Yeah, H.K. Egerton. That's right. You sent it to me. He's Chad. We should have Larkin Rose on Four Horsemen.
We should.
I will email him and get that set up.
Yeah, I would love to do that.
He's great. That's a more philosophic anarchist that I could deal with. A lot of people, you shouldn't go preaching something you haven't learned yet. Right? I don't want someone trying to explain 9/11 to people when they just sort of know it. Like, just reference to myself or Adam Fitzgerald or something like that. Like, you should see what this guy says or something like that. But until you really know something in and out, don't try and go tell it on the mountain, because it doesn't work. And that's with anarchy. Like, a lot of people cannot defend anarchy at all. But Larkin Rose is somebody with a respectable position. So, like, just refer to him. Don't try and do this on your own. You're not ready. Put down the joint. I proved my point. Like, I could riff on alcohol all day, how fucking stupid it is, and everybody be like, yup. But you say that about weed, boy, they get mad. You know why? Because they can't handle stress. That's why they smoke every day. They don't know how to cope with stress. And so what happens is when they're sober, their threshold for dealing with stress is so thin. Whatever, man. They're like a bitchy little kid. And so you say something negative to them and they fucking lose it. And that's what's going on. Another one from P1 Dizzy. Moving on from the weed subject. Good God. Can someone please ask Jeremy Kaufman when he's on if you will add an edit button?
To Odysee?
To Odysee? Ooh, well.
That's probably what she means.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's what he owns.
Yeah, or he owns Library. I don't even know. Ryan, do you know what the other companies that Library owns are other than Odysee?
We're going to ask him because I do not know.
Yeah.
Probably a few things. Probably something about rainbow bombs.
Yeah.
That's a good question to ask him. Will you add an edit button? I wish Twitter had an edit button too. Of course, I don't care what it does now, but
yeah.
I think you had a good point earlier saying, look at like MySpace, for example. Facebook overtook MySpace, but MySpace was like the 5th biggest site on the internet at one point. It was like Google, Yahoo. MySpace was where it was at.
Does it even exist anymore? Or
it got destroyed by video games. Facebook had Farmville and Mob Wars, and your friends could like give you guns and stuff in the game or strawberries or whatever. And people even like digital farming. This Pug and I have talked about the need for this stuff, but they wanted their Farmville friends, their little Zion games, whatever. That is how Facebook overturned MySpace. By the time MySpace got Mob Wars and stuff, it was too late. There are more friends or whatever on Facebook.
I liked MySpace.
I was gonna say, like, if MySpace still exists, the libertarians should all go take it over and start using it. But like,
it still exists, but it's like
I got banned.
Yeah, I got banned on MySpace too.
That's true.
Yeah, twice.
I liked MySpace because I could force people to listen to my music. So,
yeah. I loved MySpace, man. It was like the first public square was MySpace, right? And you had your top 8 spaces and all that. It's weird seeing like the Weird Al video, White and Nerdy, and he's like got MySpace on there and Minesweeper and stuff like that. All that shit's gone. But something like VK could replace Facebook. I mean, Facebook was around for years while MySpace was dominating, and then that video game thing happened, and bam, everybody started going to Facebook.
Well, Facebook started as a way to like rate the hotness of girls in different universities. Like it was the creepiest app, and now it's funny hearing them lecture.
Validate me.
Yeah, it's funny hearing them like lecture about like sexual harassment and like take down stuff about for all the woke topics where they came from. Like they started as a very risque app.
But they took over MySpace because what people like more than hot girls is the ability to talk about themselves and post their own pictures and stuff. And MySpace had that. And Facebook
deceiving pictures of themselves that makes them look taller and thinner and in better shape.
Right. Once you could edit photos, it was on. Women's became like professional photo editors. Everybody's hot online or whatever. Everyone's like 2 points more than they really are online versus the real picture, especially with women at least.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how it happened. I'm telling you,
a lot of men have no idea.
It was the video games, guys too. It was the video games that did it. It was Mob Wars and Farmville that got everybody going over there. Well, I'm just going to go over there to do my game. And eventually they just sort of started hanging out more and more on Facebook. And then Fox bought MySpace. Saw a lot of the left or just people who were sane just said, oh, fuck Fox, I'll go do Facebook, And then they sold it to Justin Timberlake too late.
That was back when Fox was the crazy, stupid one.
Fox used to be the worst one. I mean, they were like the biggest cheerleader for the Iraq War.
Bill O'Reilly made me think I was a liberal in high school.
Right. Yeah.
By the way, I can vouch.
He too, hitting on his interns and stuff, and be like, "I want to have a loofah and rub your breasts in the shower and stuff." Remember that? He's on tape saying that. He should have worked at CNN. That
do it live.
I guess it was with a woman though, so it couldn't be CNN. But
yeah, that's true. They were of age too. So
yeah, it's true. They're of age. CNN had 3 gay pedophile producers in a row. Amazing.
Hey, maybe the libertarians can take over Vampire Freaks. That's a deep cut. Like it was an old goth. Yeah, it was a goth social network. It was really popular in like the late 2000s. Maybe we can take over that one.
Comment channel says, Ryan, whatever happened to the payment processing servers on an Indian reservation? Did that fall through when you had a fallout with Man Bun, Addy, whatever? Now, Addy has nothing to do with that, and I don't think he's even Indian. He might be. I don't know. His hair's black, but no, he had nothing to do with that at all. That is the Blackfoot Reservation, and as far as I'm keep getting sold, it's like the Hollywood thing, like hurry up and wait. That what fucked it up was the Canadian trucker rebellion, and I totally support the truckers, but it did fuck up what was going on because a lot of truckers are natives and weren't working and wouldn't get vaccinated, and they put all these restrictions and stuff on them. Now they did build like $400,000 worth of infrastructure, but it's like things they desperately needed, like sewage treatment and things that you got to have all these things first before you talk about computer servers. And so that's the last I heard of it. And my contact for that is like a super off the grid dude that's very hard to reach. I call him periodically because I have my own money invested in that. But it's nothing I can control. Like, I'm not asking people to give them. I just said there's this thing like twice that's something I'm working on, but I never told people how they could work on it because I'm like, well, hold on, because I'm not in charge of this. So, don't. This is something someone else is doing that I'm gonna support, but because shit like that can happen. Oh, there's a trucker rebellion. Oh, this happened, that happened. Then COVID crushed a lot of things, and yeah. But the goal would be what I'm encouraging him to do is make a server farm so people like us can just build our own YouTubes and things, put our money in bank up there. They do have a Swiss bank on the reservation now, international bank, so that's available if you're in Canada or the US. The reservation is mostly in Canada and part of Montana. So because of the what's the act called? 1794. What the fuck is it called? Someone asked me about it the other day. Anyway, it gives natives in Canada can cross border to the US and retain dual citizenship. Damn it, was it the Jurors Act or something? Whatever. I'm having a brain fart. But anyway, no, Addy's thing got mad because he completely obviously lifted stuff out of the Numex screening and stuck it on his Twitter and acted like that was his nugget of JFK information, and it wasn't. And then he's like, but I'd heard some of these names before. I'm like, I don't care if you've heard about Louis Bloomfield or whatever. You don't know how he's connected to JFK. You just heard me say, here's a nugget for JFK researchers. And I talked about Heyman and da-da-da-da. And I added some stuff there in the room. Reed was there. And he went and threw it on Twitter. And I'm like, dude, why don't you just say, I went to Dawson's Numex screening and he said this about JFK, right? Don't pretend like you're some JFK researcher. You're not. You're not an Epstein researcher either. You're just parodying stuff from other people that dug it up. Now he's grifting on the Trump bus or something. I don't know. But like, what's so hard about that? Like, I helped that guy for years and put him on the show. I got him on Sean Atwood. I totally increased his media presence. I asked him to tweet something for me because he had like 20,000 followers, mostly because he went to the Maxwell trial. So he didn't even know who she was or Epstein was until 2019, right? So when someone's grifting off you, eventually I'm going to ask for a return. And when they would start ripping off my JFK stuff, that really pisses me off. I'm like, that film wasn't even out yet. And I said like to the room, and nobody in that room ran and said, "Oh, guess what I learned about JFK?" Except for one guy, him, and I knew he was going to do that. I was like, just admit it. And we had him on 4 Horsemen, and he basically acknowledged, yeah, that was you. And then later, he puts out some tweet saying I was like doing a double check on his girl, which, please. And I asked how old she was, even though I don't tell everybody how old my wife is. I don't need to run around saying how old.
That was such a bizarre comment.
One, no one's ever asked me to. And the only reason I asked how old they were is because they're both in their 20s and we were all drinking in the room, and I wanted to make sure everybody there was of age. I could give a fuck how old that girl is or what she's doing. Nothing against her or anything. It's just like I really, really didn't care. That's all that was. What a fucking loser. I'm sick of getting burned too. I help people, I build up their channels and stuff, and as soon as they blow up, they're like, never heard of you, dude. Reed doesn't do that. Pug doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Jack do that, but
Jackman's lost a venue over it, and I've been called a Nazi over it. So
yeah, Hoffman went after you too.
You've been called a Nazi a lot. I miss Reed being on Twitter so bad. Reed is for y'all that don't know, Reed is very good at Twitter. He's like
got a black belt for sure.
Yeah,
it's just so funny because all
the New Hampshire Libertarian Party Twitter, they're pretty good.
Yeah,
not as good as Reed, but pretty good.
Yeah, they're pretty good. But the funny thing is, like, Nick Fuentes blocked me, and I mean, he's not even a Nazi or anything, but like anyone who's like alt-right or far-right or whatever, like they hated me on Twitter, but so many fucking pieces of shit called me a Nazi. I was just like, you guys have, it was like we were talking earlier, you guys have never met a Nazi ever.
Right.
Like you would know if you
have. Right.
Even those Nazis are only an ideology. A real Nazi would be violent. Like real Nazis had guns and took over countries. You better pray we don't have Nazis again. I guess there were some in Ukraine. But
yeah, I know. The Nazis are in the Azov battalion now. So
the ones that your government's giving money to from Joe Biden, who you probably voted for. Yeah. They're aiding Nazis. Adam Holland, the guy that started the Holocaust denial smear crap, supports Nazis in Ukraine. He's calling me a Nazi while he supports actual Nazis in Ukraine.
Yeah,
that's screaming in pain as they beat you.
Yeah,
it's a constant thing. The Musk Twitter thing is not off. Like they're gonna try and either make him pay $1 billion to back out of the deal, or force him to buy the company. But then he's gonna force them to give them the information on the bots. And we already found out a lot that they're turning the volume up on some, down on others. All these conservative pundits suddenly had like 10,000 new ads. Like,
we talked about this before. I think a lot of what that was, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, Elon made an offer. Now I'm going to be unbanned." I don't think that's what was going on at all. Like it was I think they knew that they were going to have to turn over a lot of information about internal workings. So a lot of the throttling mechanisms, algorithms, whatever it was, their bots, whatever it was they're using to throttle some stuff and turn up some stuff and down other stuff and shadow bans and stuff. I think they started frantically burning, doing the Arthur Anderson burning the documents type thing, trying to
digital paper digital paper shredding.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to make it so that he doesn't see this and then come out and be like, well, they have program A, B, and C throttling these different people based on political views. And, Project Veritas already showed them admitting as much.
Joe Biden got 11 million fake followers. 11 million of his 22 million were fake. 50%. That guy's such a paper tiger, or that's not the right phrase. He's just, everything about him is fake. And I don't think he's going to make it 4 years. I'll say that right now. The problem
I've been saying that. Remember we had our little bet thing where we were saying who's gonna be the next president, and I was like Kamala Harris before his term's up.
Right.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure who's on that. I'm not sure whose mental faculties are more
Harris.
Because she is just dumber, but he's so demented that he's like almost to the level that
he'll have a moment of clarity. She never has a moment.
Yeah, that's true.
Like she never has a moment.
Well, Ryan,
just
Ukraine is a small country. Russia is a bigger country. Russia invaded Ukraine, so that's bad. I don't know. That's pretty.
She was on some like black radio show, like she was talking down to them. So basically, that's bad.
Disgusting. The guy's like, he asked her, "Can you just put it into layman's terms?" It's like, wow. I said layman's terms, not talk to us like we're 4.
Well, Ukraine attacked Donbass for 8 years and killed 13,000 people. Russia had enough of it, so they invaded. There's layman's terms.
Yeah. Back to we were talking about the way liberals talk down to minorities and stuff. And I would rather someone hate me than treat me like a child. You know, like I would rather someone talk to me in like very hostile terms versus talk to me like I'm too stupid to understand, you know? And,
well, my dad taught me through example to talk to everyone the same way. And I remember there was this kid at our church who had cerebral palsy. And so he couldn't talk very well. All his language is extremely slurred. And, you know, he sat kind of weird and his wrists were curved. But, you know, all the other adults at the church would talk to him like, "Hey, Nathan, how are you doing today?" You know, and my dad's like, he's not deaf. You know, he can understand what you're saying. So my dad, when he saw him, he'd just talk to him like he was a normal teenager. He'd just be like, "Hey, Nathan, how you doing today, man?" And he'd give him a high five. And, you know, he would kind of like put his wrist up and hit his hand in a high five. But my dad just treated him like a human. And when you are demeaning to someone, you're dehumanizing them. You're treating them like they're subhuman. It's so disgusting. But
that happens to people with cerebral palsy too. I have a cousin, like he couldn't talk until he was about 16, and this is after brain surgery and all this. He has really, really bad cerebral palsy, wheelchair bound.
Yeah, same with this guy.
Locked hands and wrists and things. He had like different phrases that we figured out what they meant, you know. We got him this like kids toy where you could hit the button and say like bathroom, drink, like basic things. And once he had that, I mean, we always talked to him and he watched TV and he understood everything you were saying, but he could not let you know, until we got him these machines. And then he slowly was able to speak. He could say mom, he could call your name, things like that. And then use his, we got him a better set of like 800 words thing. He could push or spell things out. He could spell the words out, slowly and tell you Stephen Hawking style kind of thing. But I saw that happen a lot to him. We'd be at a baseball game or something, and he's watching his brothers play, and people were like, "Hey, Terry, it's the baseball." I'm like, dude, he's smarter than you are. He's just stuck in a chair. All he does is learn,
God, I bet people talk to Stephen Hawking that way.
Weren't they like, "Hey, Stephen"? No. No.
Wait, so the question is, if he didn't Stephen Hawking go to Epstein's Island?
I hope so.
I mean, what could he have done? You can't really accuse him of doing anything, right?
I mean, he could motorboat.
He probably at least kept his underwear on.
Yeah,
that reminds me of another joke. You got to hand it to blind prostitutes. Get it?
Yeah, that's funny.
You got to hand it to blind prostitutes. Takes that while. For pot smokers, I mean, see, you have to hand it to them because they can't see it.
Alcohol is kind of like the
potheads are going to be the new gingers because they get triggered. So, like redheads, no, right?
I think alcohol is the gingers because you can say whatever you want about that, and the pot would be the group you can't.
I've like one of the biggest backlash is the Holocaust at 9/11, but after that, saying weed doesn't cure cancer, that's because it doesn't, right? Boy, oh man, I pissed off the fucking beehive with that one. They're like, yes, it does. There's 228 studies. They go in vitro, no in vivo. They don't know the difference, Like, weed cures cancer. I'm like, it's just big pharma is covering it up. I'm like, okay, this is like, you're making me hate. I don't hate everyone that smokes weed. I just hate the dumb ones, which is all of them I've ever met other than Horton. No, no, it's like 80% though.
Yeah, I mean, most pot smokers that I know, they act like, oh, it's not addictive, and oh, it's not, you know, this, oh, it doesn't. But everyone I know is addicted to it. Everyone I know is out of cardiovascular shape because they smoke it. Everyone I know, you know, can't live without it. So it's just like, I don't know. I'm just going.
It's
off
not chemically addicting like nicotine or cocaine, but it's addicting like your cell phone's addicting or a habit that you can't break. There's a psychological addiction, which can be just as strong as a chemical addiction.
I've got a lot of friends in the medical community, and I actually know some brilliant doctors.
You quit meth. How hard was that chemical break? Yeah,
just
a lot of pharma people. He used to work as a PR for Pfizer, right?
Yeah, now I just volunteer and do it for free,
right?
But I've got a lot of friends in the medical community, and I know some like doctors and surgeons and researchers that are total potheads, like, or at least, and I say that actually that's probably a mischaracterization. People who use marijuana, but like there is a difference in abuse and use, you know. But and these guys are the exception to the rule. They're the high functioning people that we were talking about. That's a very small. I know a lot more. I know a lot more people who aren't surgeons that smoke weed than people who are. You know.
Right. Well, I know lots of people who drink sometimes and are fine, but I also know some alcoholics that have really messed up their life that should just not drink ever, not even one beer. Moderation for those people is 0. Right.
Yeah.
Every drug affects every person differently, but it also affects them all the same. Like if you drink, you eventually gonna get drunk, right? If you smoke, you're eventually gonna get high, and it is gonna have similar effects to everybody. Now, how dumb you were already, like if someone's really stupid and they smoke weed, you can't really tell the difference because that's how they started. But when someone's really smart and they smoke a lot of weed, you can tell. Because they really slow down.
Yeah, I can sense P1 Dizzy right now from wherever she's at in America.
Yeah, like, just
please get off the weed.
Have any of you ever smoked? No. Have you guys?
I have. No. I used to a lot, you know, and I did, you know, very well.
Is that when you're fat and addicted to Red Bull?
Well, actually, yeah, that did overlap, but I mean, I did really well in school, and but what got me off of it was
I think weed would help you in school because school is full of just monotonous, busy work nonsense, right? And if you're high, it's not so bad, you know.
And for me, like I especially high school, but college too, like I would read the whole textbook and like enjoy it and like actually enjoy absorbing the material. So like the rest of the time there was just boring because it was like we already covered, you know, in high school, it's like we covered this every single year. Are we seriously gonna go? But anyway, what made me quit though was so I had done it so much that it didn't affect me really. I had a tolerance. It's like if you're an alcoholic, you're not gonna get drunk off a drink, you know, like so I smoked
like last night. A certain
that wasn't me. That was a certain snow person.
Yeah, one of our snowmen got drunk on beer.
But what got me off of it actually was
I think it's because he metabolizes things so fast that he just got all the alcohol in his blood instantly.
Yeah, how do you get drunk off beer?
It takes a lot for me now. A lot of beers. I'd have to have an empty stomach in order to fit that much in my stomach at this point. Probably.
Yeah. A funnel.
Yeah.
But what actually got me off was I had gotten such a tolerance where I mean no one in my family, no one I worked with knew that I smoked because I was you know, I had a tolerance. I wasn't getting like really messed up and you know anything like that. It was I'd just be like normal because I did it so much. But then when I went to Japan, it's super illegal there. You know, like you get banned from the country if you get caught with weed.
Really?
And oh yeah, if you're a musician, and I was there with a bunch of musicians and stuff. Like if you get caught with weed, they will go remove all your albums and stuff. If you were in a TV show, they'll go censor you out of the TV show, and that's not even the law. That's just the culture. And so
no devil's
it's extremely strict. And so I was like, it's just not worth it. I'll just not do it for a little while. And then I came back, and in Oregon, the marijuana is weapons grade. Like it's extremely strong. And I was like, this is not fun. This is not I just hated it, and haven't since. And I think that's a good idea with any kind of substance, or like any alcohol, nicotine, anything, is to take a break sometime, see what life's like without it. And it might not be as crucial to your lifestyle as you think it is.
Yeah, I was like super Christian conservative straight edge in high school, so I never did it. And then when I turned 18, I got my CDL, so it's being drug tested. I was working straight up until like a month ago. So I could have smoked a couple times in the last few months, but now I've made it to 28 without ever smoking. So it's got to be the right time when I do it. Like if I ever do it, it has to be like the right setting or something.
It's so strong now too. Don't let people talk you into doing as much as they do. Literally,
you don't know what all's in it half the time. There could be like fentanyl or some other crazy stuff in there.
Yeah.
There's it's changed so much. Like the weed that's available now is not your dad's and granddad's marijuana. They've got stuff that's 38% THC, which is, the hash wasn't half that strong before. Like you're talking about a plant that's almost 50% one chemical. That's insane.
Yeah.
And, P1 Dizzy. I'm sorry. I keep doing the tie thing.
We should have called this. We should have called this the weed episode instead of the Twitter episode. We talked a lot more about weed.
Right.
I hope he still gets the deal, even if it's not at the lower price, because the stock is tanking. It's whatever. Because I think if he got real control, got to clean it up, bring back the permanently banned, and just say you can say whatever you want as long as it's not against the law, that the stock would go through the roof, because it would be entertaining and fun again. Twitter's boring because nobody cool is allowed on it.
Yeah.
They sanitized it. Of anybody with a real opinion, it's all just leftist garbage. And when they banned Jordan Peterson today, about 8 hours ago, I guess it could have been yesterday, he did a scathing analysis of Twitter on psychology. That was pretty good. I usually think he's just kind of a muppet, I don't want to say that because but
not when he talks about Nietzsche or Jung. I know he gets Jung. He's great on Nietzsche.
He's fine when he's talking about his own field, for sure. He's a professional
and not dumbing it down for middle schoolers.
Yeah. Anyway, he did a really good bit on the hostility of Twitter and how the reward system in Twitter, like somebody else builds up a reputation, builds up a following from merit, skill, social contact, all that, right. And then you could just leave a comment on their thing when they've got hundreds of thousands of followers, and instantly, thousands of people see your trash. So you get instant attention, riding people's coattails, but in a negative way, where you can just slam on celebrities and professionals all over the place, and build up your own attention in the most. If as long as you're coming from the left, you can say the most horrible thing you want, call someone a Nazi, a racist, a sexist, whatever. And that's very charged language to get you a lot of attention. So this malignant narcissism, so prevalent on the left, it metastasizes. It gets larger and larger because it's so easy to get attention without putting in the effort or the skill. You just find someone that already has an audience and just start shitting on them, and it'll all be public. And if they ban you, it's like, aha, you could screenshot, I got banned by so-and-so, ha ha ha. Right? They block me. But if that person engages in self-defense, they're risking losing their giant following of hundreds of thousands of people, because Twitter go, oh, did you say something left of center or right of center?
Yeah.
Gone. Or right of the extreme left, actually. Gone. you're not allowed to defend yourself. So you have to just sit there and take it. And that's what happened to me with Black Lives Matter. All of them are trashing me. And it's all I did was physically showed up to their thing. And my only issue is, yeah, I'm totally against police abuse and all that too. And you know, fuck Derek Chauvin, and I was all aboard of that. But why are you?
Oh yeah, we were all over that.
Nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
that just pissed off the South. Like, you alienated yourself from all these allies who've dealt with cops, who've dealt with police abuse and the abuse of power and all that. Totally 100% agree with you. And then you went around taking down historic monuments. They're like, okay, well, fuck BLM if that's what you're doing.
And I'd
rather have abusive cops than abusive criminals.
Well, I was going to say they also took out all the Arby's too, because, you know, those are really they're part of the power structure.
They probably don't like meat or something. Yeah, like, oh, roast beef.
The tire shops, the car dealerships.
We were covering that. This was back when we were still on YouTube, so when all the initial BLM riots and all that was happening, we were streaming very regularly. And one thing that we were kind of divided about, you know, everybody to begin with was like, you know, they're attacking random businesses and that's not cool. If they have an issue, they should go after the government stuff. And then in Portland, they start burning down the federal courthouse, and we're like, I mean, it's Antifa, you know, but at least it's not the hardware store.
Antifa's only like 800 people in the whole country, and they bust them around from city to city. But 800 people can do a lot of damage when they're unarrestable. Like, as soon as they get arrested, they let them out of jail. The DAs are bribed by Soros, and he's got himself a little gang.
Well, I went to a Black Lives Matter protest in Denver, and I had a sign that said, like, end qualified immunity and no knock raids, and I forget what else. And
red flag laws.
No one knew what any of them were. Like, I was, because they were all screaming like, no justice, no peace. And so I went around asking people, like, well, what does that mean? What does justice mean? What do you want? And they're like, we need to end like systemic racism in the police force. It's like, okay, what does that mean? How do you end systemic racism in the police force? Like, how about policies? Like, if we get rid of these policies I have right here, you know, then you'd see some, but only like 2 people out of like 100 that I talked to even knew what I was talking about. And after that, I was like, this is just a joke. Like, there's no serious.
Those yellow building rallies are the dumbest of the dumb.
Yeah.
They don't know their ass from their elbow, and that they're so passionately yelling at the wall without a clue of what's going on.
Like, one of my biggest jokes about January 6th was like, you know, when the people went in, I was like,
matters.
I was like, at least you're going after the right buildings, you know. Like, at least
That's
if
great.
You don't want the election results to be confirmed, going into the Capitol building makes sense. If you're upset about police brutality, burning down a tire shop doesn't really, you know, I don't really get the connection. So, but
well, it makes lots of smoke.
Yeah,
I remember the woman filming the people protecting their own store. I mean, like, they's racist. They won't let us loot their store. They're out there with their own guns instead of relying on the cops.
There was definitely some fucking intentional provocation going on in some places too, though, because some places, like, there were videos of people who were just protesting, and some guy would come in and like break a window, and they'd be like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And they'd be like, you know, and the guy would kind of like take off and try to hide, and he had his face masked and shit. And then there were other places where they were dropping pallets of bricks all over the place. Like, the afternoon would show up and there's brick pallets everywhere. It's like, what the fuck are these doing here? You know, so there was definitely, it was like January 6th with Ray Epps or whatever. There was a lot of that shit going on too, trying to get
it's COINTELPRO all day.
Yeah,
that's what that is. You know, I've had them show up in my house. I'd have anti-war meetings and stuff. I remember showing the film Outfoxed, which I think was like or something. Yeah. And
I told this. I remember, Ryan, I told you about this on stream once. Remember when I went to that pro-Palestine rally in Portland, and I had my boycott Israel. No, and I'm not far right, but
there you go.
I had my boycott Israel shirt and the keffiyeh and all that, and there were a lot of well-intentioned people there. Of course, most of them. There's a lot of overlap with some of the far left stuff because of, you know, just where I was. And I saw something that was just, I think I filmed part of it and put it on the stream too. It was, I don't even know if I can quote this guy. It was so extreme, but there was this one guy that was pushing he wasn't even talking about Palestine at all. He was talking about, it was an Asian dude, like talking about wearing like a ninja thing, like totally covered up. And he was saying things like,
oh yeah,
asking people how many politicians they've killed today. Don't tell me you're fighting for change when you haven't killed any politicians today. Stuff like that. Like just
wasn't he
like,
wearing
seriously,
like $300 shoes and
yeah. I actually said that to him when he was talking about communism and stuff. I was like, dude, you're lecturing me about communism in your $300 shoes and your iPhone. Like it's or about capitalism was what. But and he was saying like it was just so Fed posty. He was saying not to read. Not to read, basically. Don't read any communist literature. You just need to be killing white people and politicians. And like all the like Arabs in the audience are just like looking at each other like, can someone get this guy out of here? Like we're all gonna get raided. You know, like he was just openly calling for violence. Like
how about
Palestinian thing in a minute.
Guns are banned in Japan, so somebody builds one and shoots the prime minister, you know, of consecutively 8 years, 9 years, the longest reigning prime minister in history, gets killed by a guy in Nara, which has had no shootings or violence since 2005. Never had a shooting, actually. That was nobody even been murdered in over 17 years. Guy builds a gun and shoots him. America's got millions of guns, and all they do is shoot each other. Not one politician gets popped.
Yeah.
We got millions of guns. The only reason for a gun is to kill tyrants, and you all sit there and shoot each other. Japan, they won't let them have weapons. They build them and they shoot the ex-prime minister.
The prime minister, yeah.
Oh, in Asia they kill the hell out of politicians, like in just about every Asian country.
Did you see Sri Lanka recently?
Oh yeah, we were talking last night. Like if there was an equivalent in Japan or Philippines or Thailand or really anywhere of like a Trump or a George Bush or Barack Obama or anybody, any Clinton, any of those people, Asia wouldn't put up with it.
No, if you acted like that, you'd get killed for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny how America has this reputation of being like the tough guys or whatever.
South Korea would torture you. I mean, they the last 3 presidents in a row have gone to jail.
So what do you think would happen if something like that happened in America? Do you think they'd just machine gun them as they stormed the building like that, or would they just let them get away?
Well, you wouldn't be able to make a homemade gun and pull it out and shoot 2 times without anybody reacting, but you could hit some of them with a sniper rifle, whatever. I mean, I'm not going to give any ideas, but like if you wanted to take out,
I keep censoring myself just the context.
Well, I just mean like what happened.
You just put roofing tacks on the bridge out the back of a van as they're driving by in their SUVs. I mean, if they're hypothetically in Minecraft and what? No, I mean, there's ways you could do it, but I
mean, like what they did in Sri Lanka, like straight up storming the building.
That storming the palace. Well, they'd already run away, so there's no one there.
I was surprised they didn't drone strike us at the Ron Paul convention.
Yeah, I know. You, me, Scott Ritter, Dan McAdams, Ron Paul,
Lou Rockwell,
whoever else was
there. Pete Jonas was there.
Phil Giraldi.
Yeah.
Phil Giraldi was there. Yep.
That last little tangent reminded me of
Ricky
the whitest
from
kids
Trailer Park Boys.
Remember the whitest kids you know thing where Trevor Moore saying, "Did you know that it is illegal to say?"
Yeah.
I'm not going to do the bit.
I wish somebody would kill the president. Oh my God, why is the president still alive?
That would be so illegal.
That would be illegal to say if you said that.
Yeah, I met him. He was really cool. It's real sad that he died recently, but he was funny. And that his Moon Bears thing was so great, where he's like being the president, saying this most insane stuff about like bears on the moon or whatever. That some journalist was like, "Did we just invade Iran?" And he's like, "Oh, you got me."
We're talking about moon bears. That's something Elon would do. We're going to colonize Mars in his lifetime. He focuses completely on how hard it is to get there, not the fact that there's no magnetic.
That dude is the world's best, world's greatest at getting money from the government. He is like the ultimate welfare queen.
He's a professional government grant getter. I said yesterday that we haven't had anyone get more government grants since General Grant than Elon Musk. Reed, you got to come on these nighttime streams we do sometime.
I'd love to, now that I actually have a schedule I can work with. So
yeah, we can do it. Maybe people will shekel in. I don't know. But yeah, the VAR got pretty hammered because we spent 24 days trying to get a plugin for a donation progress VAR. And so much headache. I'm not even going to explain. We finally got it to work yesterday. And so he's like, oh, yeah, I'm
over the moon.
Yeah, it was sunny, which is really, really rare in Norway. And so he's like, it's sunny outside. We got the plug-in to work. I'm getting drunk. And he got, remember at the end, he was like, hey, Ryan, now that I have you on the line, I've been on the line for like an hour.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I liked it. It was fun, him being the drunk one for once. Yeah, that was, I said to the people listening, I was like, y'all, this is Bard completely over the moon. Like, you have never heard him as happy as he is right now.
Yeah, because we got the there's no we didn't get any donations yet, but we got it working. No, we got a $20.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
we got $20.
I thought it was like 70 something as of yesterday, but
well, half of that's me and
okay.
Testing it. We're like, maybe we have to go up to 40 to get 1% or whatever, and we tried everything.
I see.
Yeah, I just don't think people really care about the Africa film. I thought the addendum to NUMEC would be a seller, but I really like the Africa stuff. I think
I do too, and
model
that's the one I gave to Jimmy Dore, and like that's the one I like to introduce lefties on. But you know, it'd be a lot easier to do that if it was freely available. You know, Jimmy Dore.
Yeah. I don't think he watched it though. I think he would have said something otherwise, but I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, we talked about you. I don't watch all his content, so I don't know if he ever brought it up. But he said he was a fan of your work for sure, but he was just scared to have you on. I was wearing the Boycott Israel shirt last time, and his whole crew loved it. Like, they kept asking where to buy them and stuff.
It's mine, man. I'm wearing that
right now. We should have him on the Four Horsemen.
Or this.
That would be amazing.
I've been.
I don't know if he'll come on if I'm on though. Maybe like with two other people, it's watered down. Like, well, it's not Ryan's show. He's just on there.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. But he does like your work. Like he said that he was a fan of your work. But
dude, the only thing that pisses me off about Jimmy Dore is
drop my name. I'm like, if you want to know some 9/11 stuff, check out Ryan Dawson. That would blow shit up. It's Jimmy Dore. He's not gonna get banned for that.
When I mentioned you, he was like the 9/11 guy, right?
Yeah.
The only thing that pisses me off about Jimmy Dore is he'll go for months about some stupid spat with the Young Turks, and it's like, dude, every smart person figured out they sucked 6 years ago. Like, just because you're late to the party,
when you left them at the same time
forever. Like, but
he spit on Alex Jones.
Yeah, Ryan's jealous.
That must be like Ryan loves him so much.
Yeah.
That's how I was like, you get a pass for like the next 8 dumb things you do because that was worth it.
He tries to deny it too. I saw someone
considering some of the guests they've had that I'm the guy that they can't do.
Yeah, they had the Young Turks had a mass shooter as one of their guests.
Yeah, nice. Had on communists and stuff. Like CCP. Well, that's another rumor that the Chinese assassinated Abe. That's bullshit. It's Tetsuya shot him. And he did it because of the bankruptcy of his family to the religious cult that he associated with Abe. He's a hardcore leftist. He shot a right-wing politician. But it wasn't over politics. It was over faith, which is really a business. Because that Nicene Christian cult in Korea I don't consider that even like real Christianity. It's just a cult to gather people's money. And reunification is something, it's kind of like Armageddon. You can point to reunifying the Koreas all day because it ain't going to happen, right? So you can always be working towards that. That's not happening. Not with the current idiots we have. Like, they won't even talk to them. So without dialogue, how do you expect there to be unity? Trump's the first one to actually visit North Korea and talk to Kim and try something. Bolton sabotaged the whole thing, but at least there was an attempt, and there hasn't been one, and there won't be one again.
Can we disunify?
I'm sharing something on the screen, Ryan.
Oh, let's see there. Oh, yeah, the two Aves. Yeah, Pete sent me that.
Yeah, that's who I saw it from, too. Our Abe's getting shot. Oh, man.
It's Abe.
It's all right. It works with spelling. So,
well, one is pronounced Abe, the other is pronounced Satan.
Yeah.
It's like nobody called him. It was Abraham or Lincoln. Nobody called him Abe during his lifetime, other than maybe his boyfriend.
Honest Abe.
We were talking about selling stinking Lincoln NFTs.
For sure. If I knew how to do an NFT, I got a bunch of them I'd do.
We just need an artist. We need to commission an artist. We have a bunch of ideas for different stinking Lincolns. I would buy one.
I think FDR and Lincoln and Reagan were all great presidents. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
I want a rainbow frog giving him the bird. You know, just
yeah.
Fuck Lincoln. Thomas Del Renzo is coming on the show. That's gonna be awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, we're gonna keep having Larry Johnson and Scott Ritter and Andrei Mekhinov coming back and back and back. I'd love to get the judge on. Maybe Clint can hook that up. I don't know. But
I can ask him. I'm gonna see him this week. I'm going to Vegas for Freedom Fest for the next 5 days.
It'd be great if Muhammad saw the Numek film. That would be great.
If who?
If the judge saw the Numek film.
Oh, yeah. I can give it to Clint.
Mm-hmm.
Slowly
baby stepping our way to spinning squirrel. No, that's not how.
What was I going to say? Oh yeah, I'm going to get Roger Stone on my show. So that's going to be interesting.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I'm not sure on the day yet, but I'm just working that out. So
that's still so crazy watching him watch Stanley Kubrick. How I Learned to Love the Bomb thing with Dr. Strangelove. Watching it with Putin. Imagine sitting watching Stanley Kubrick movies with Putin.
Based. I wish Oliver Stone would listen to my Tim Kelly interview on RFK.
What do you think? Would he do Four Horsemen? Because he's already been on Clint's show, and I'm going to get him on mine. Do you think we could warm him up to it?
Why not? I mean, why not?
That'd be cool. I was telling Ryan.
Does he know who you are, or have you guys ever interacted? Or
I don't know. I don't think so. I doubt he knows any of my stuff.
Yeah.
I never know though, because there's some people I'm like, oh, they don't know me. And they're like,
he talks about
Epstein
a little bit, so I didn't know.
They would know, but they're usually just knowing people pirating my stuff because I'm not on anything mainstream. Right. But I did get those Epstein maps out and stuff in 2019, right out the door. I'm like, here's all the players, here's the black book, here's this, here's that. But right when I did that, my account got suspended for 90 days. And I had to go to Ireland and all that. But yeah, I couldn't do any follow-ups. By the time my YouTube had been returned, he was already dead.
Yeah.
Maxwell was at large. I said where she was. I called it on the Atwood show too. Because everyone's saying he's in France, he's in Israel. I'm like, no, she's in the US in the Northeast, because that's where her sugar daddies are. Her power
of all places. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Reed was harboring her.
Yeah. No, I was out in Utah when she was in New Hampshire. So.
Oh, sure.
Did you say New Mexico?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Bill Richardson, my good buddy.
Yeah, they're all talking about, tunnels and all this nonsense. They tried to kookify that one too.
Yeah.
It's like if the sober voice isn't there to correct it, the kooks take over. And because people like myself keep getting censored, the narrative just becomes QAnon stuff, right? QAnon got the way it was because there's no everybody to lead the sheep to the right place. Like, they don't even know what they don't know. But like you said at the beginning, if they get a few names to look up, like Glenn Dubin, for example, the info is there.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep putting it on.
The problem is you have to know what you're looking for to be able to find it. You know, you have to like, if you, it's like,
look it up, Google it. Right. Now you know. Like, but there's so many things that people don't know. And that's why I'm like, go watch NUMEC, write down some names, you know, maybe pop up a cold one or a joint or whatever, and then sit there and read about them, because it's endless. Like, once you know about Meyer Lansky, holy crap, you've got a week's worth of reading to do.
Yeah, I mean, as much as into 9/11 stuff as I was, and I was very involved in it. I started a bunch of organizations on campuses and stuff. Like, as much research as I'd done, and I never saw any of Ryan's stuff for like 10 years.
And that's the entire Ryan portions, Ziad Al-Jara, all that is unique to my work, or it was, and so you'd be missing all of that.
It was the first
system sabotage and all that. No one knew about that. I dug up that story with Catherine Smith.
Oh yeah, I was stoked when I found your work, because it was like all the stuff I had been trying to learn about, and and the whole movement was so kookified, you know, like it was just impossible to find any good info.
It's, and then I was like someone wanted to retard the whole thing.
Yeah. Bernie Sanders to the woodshed is how I found Ryan. I was
really
dude, that one got censored like 8 times.
Yeah. Well, it was funny. It was kind of like how I supported Tulsi in 2020. So I supported Rand Paul in 2016, and then Trump was just a bridge too far for me. So I was like, all right, I'll check out this Bernie Sanders guy. Apparently he's anti-war and everything. And then I found Ryan's video, and I was like, oh fuck, never mind, I guess not. So Ryan saved me from accidentally going down that cult. So
they banned that video so many times. And I've just calmly went over the facts, showed his voting record. You know, there's no opinion in that video. It's a woodshed.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is Carrie Wedler made a similar video about Bernie Sanders.
I love her. She's great.
She said that was her most banned video too. So something about Bernie Sanders. Yeah, can't go.
Yeah, I mean, we were still in California.
Is she what?
Is she still in Los Angeles?
I don't know. I haven't talked to her in a long time. But.
All right, well, because out there it's just the worst, man. Like,
we were this close. We were this close to the naturalist socialist.
No, it probably wouldn't have happened. It would have been a nose holding situation, just like man.
Right.
Yeah, I'm glad, because there's so many people though who, for the last several years, they've just been shocked at how much Bernie has been selling out. But if you know that he was never legit in the first place, you realize he's not selling out. He's just being exposed as a fraud the entire time.
That was a video follow-up to Bernie to the woodshed, was Bernie Sanders didn't sell out. He's always been this way.
Yeah.
I think that's the title or something. It was like 14 minutes long. Pretty good.
I just don't take politicians and media people in good faith to begin with. Like, I don't think if they say they think something or they got a position or whatever, I don't think why do they think that way and argue that way. I think, why do they want me to think they think that? And my favorite analogy is, it's like thinking the stripper is twerking in your face because she likes you. You know, it's like they're being pragmatic. And I think, you know, there's very, very few. There's you know, Rand Paul is good on most things. Then Thomas Massey's fantastic. As Reed likes to point out, and finally made me acknowledge, Marjorie Taylor Greene is better than most. Jim Jordan.
Jim Jordan's face.
Dude, it took me a while to warm up to her, but she is like pretty good on a lot of things. It's kind of amazing.
She's gotten better because she actually listens to her constituents. We got a quick message from our sponsor. If I did this quick.
Ground producer and proprietor. Patriotic projectile party poppers. Got some up to the brown people making trouble for your empire? Replace them with a charred freighter and a cloud of white smoke. So remember, if your next geostrategic boondoggle going awry, don't call us, we'll call you.
Introducing Cognitive Interrupter Alpha. Oh yeah!
Oh no.
Oh yeah?
No.
Scientifically formulated by men who look like doctors. This supplement has been proven in over 1.5 studies to heighten critical thinking while simultaneously preserving your myopic Abrahamic nationalist worldview while still keeping you on a short leash of ignorance and fear. Results may vary from person to person. may take 104 weeks to see lasting results. If warts appear...
Hey Doc, what the hell is this?
I don't know, but it don't look right.
Please contact your local Jonestown chapter. And remember to check out Select Auto Shift for a sweet 45-degree win. The globalist Luciferians and their Islamist supplicants are pouring across the borders of several Western nations, including our own. The thrust of their zeal threatens to violate the sovereignty of our way of life, but we can never let it threaten our bodies. Presenting Homogard, a male chastity phallic blocker. It's designed to prevent any jihadi penetration to your rectum while applying moderate pressure to the prostate gland to promote your masculine vitality. Homogard. It is also equipped with an array of nodes to detect the brain activity of any potential Wahhabi salami near you, which will silently alert you with a subtle vibration. Oh my god. This is a true breakthrough in health and defense, but don't take my word for it. Homogard made me feel safe, but I'm insecure in a whole nother way now. I never knew just how many Wahhabi terrorists were near me all the time. Thanks, Homogard. It's not a stretch of the imagination that our own bodies are under threat of an invasion, because Homogard has stretched out far more than that for me. We can and will defeat the globalist scum on the home front, but we need to make sure we're well protected around back. Homogard.
Good stuff.
Want a casual dining experience that's as creepy as it is fun? We have an abductable, delectable selection of cheeses and sauces. And don't forget hot dogs. Featuring wholesome live music entertainment that's not at all hypnotic. Go balls deep on one of our many ping pong tables. Then come deep inside and see our newly renovated soundproof daycare. They'll be fine. Try our all-new Spirit Kitchen soups and salads. What the fuck is that? Don't let hunger get away with molesting your day. Pedos to pizza. Good times and creepy vibes, or we'll eat your kids free. You mean kids eat free? Yeah, what you said.
Is that all of them? Oh, okay.
That one's come back.
I haven't seen the Podesta pizza one in a couple years, and I didn't get it the first time, but now I understand all the inside jokes.
Yeah.
Well, is that about Podesta or is it about Pedo Peter?
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
It's pedo to pizza, but it's also Podesta pizza. Very clever there. Abductable. I mean, shit. Delectables. Good.
What's the line about children eating? I mean, eating children. I mean, whatever it was. Yeah.
Yeah, eat children free. Yeah, what he said. Children eat free. Do you see the little baby legs sticking out of the spaghetti?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's that little foot. Just little. We had the best one on Dan Crenshaw, and it was called Z-I-O, like G.I. Joe, but Zio. And he's like Z-I-O, and he gets all geared up, and there's like Antifa sitting on like big gulp Slurpees with all this acne and stuff in a car, and he lands on the car and kills himself and kills them too. It was going to be awesome, but then January 6th got rid of my artist, so it sucks.
Yeah.
He was great, man, and there's nobody on that level. I mean, this guy could have worked for like Adult Swim, you know?
Yeah.
Some of those things are so good. If you haven't seen Space Kook, we have like hour-long episodes. Those are just commercials within the show that we decided to make commercials.
Yeah.
Except
shout out to the New Mech editor. That guy did a fantastic job.
That guy is awesome too. And yeah, for that, he's the best at that. Can't like create animations as well as the first anonymous person, but the New Mech people or person, what's people? I just messed that up. Okay, the New Mech people were very good. So hopefully we can stay on that level for the JFK film. That's my hope. What is your favorite of the Lotta Greed Martin, Homogard, CIA commercial, Pedos to Pista of those? We have the Don't Israel stuff too.
I like the Don't Israel videos.
Yeah, I love those. Yeah. The original one with Mimi and I is probably the best.
We need to make some new ones next time where you're actually together, because we keep saying it, but we haven't done it yet. So we'll plan it out.
I did one in Houston, but like we
he
need
Israel
one.
Clint's pants while he was in the pool. So
Oh, Vince.
Vince, yeah.
See, he's always thinking of taking Clint's pants off. That's all it is. Hey, look at that Freudian slip right there.
Little Freudian slip.
Yeah.
That was bad.
Does Clint know you were swimming with the pantsless Vince in the pool? Does he know? I guess he knows now. Sorry.
Now
Clint.
he knows. He's gonna watch this.
Yeah.
Bart, he was
edit that out.
And
being a little obnoxious. When he went in his underwear, I took his pants and put them behind a door that locked. That if you went through, you couldn't get back in.
Yeah, because Pug kept taking him out till like 6 a.m, like an hour before. Like Eric goes to bed at like 9. And then I'm like, okay, I'll stay up. And then it's like 1 or 2 in the morning. And I'm like, okay, guys, I'm going to bed. And you guys are like, oh, party pooper. I'm like,
I heard that a bunch. It was either Pug or Griffin every time. Griffin and Pug were the reasons Scott Ritter had that third beer.
Yeah, when he said that on the stage, he like looks at me. I was like, damn.
Several people were like, well, I was drinking. Pug had like his flask in a room, or Pug got me a drink, and Pug
full bottle.
Yeah, Russian bottle. That, and I'm like, oh, y'all two just got everybody hammered, is what it sounded like. I was so fucking sick on that trip. I'm like, I wanted more than anything to get. I didn't even care about drinking. I wanted a tomahawk steak in Texas, right?
You inhaled your steak.
The steak I did get was gone in 2 seconds, man. I was like, gone. I wanted that tomahawk steak, and I was like, that's all right. I got like 3 more days or whatever. And then, no, I didn't either because I couldn't even barely move. Sucked, dude. Half the reason I go to America is for the food. I mean, and I couldn't do that. And I wanted to hang out with all the ANC people. And I got to some, but by like 9 p.m. every night, I was out. It's like,
you guys should all immigrate to New Hampshire. We're going to secede before any southern states do. We're going to beat them this time.
I'm thinking about it, man. I'm actually been looking out there. Like I think I'm going to try to spend like half the year here. And
I don't know, man. Rhonda's pretty serious about Texit, and that is constitutionally allowed in the state constitution.
She might make it happen by herself.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of Republican legislators that are all for it. I'll tell you what, if they steal this election again in the midterms, you will see secession.
Well, that's the thing is, if a Republican
I hope they steal the election.
No matter who wins, someone's going to secede. Either California is walking away or Texas is walking away.
I was going to say, Pug, you're right. Like, I hope that a Democrat becomes president too, because, the Texit thing will die as soon as there's a Republican president.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
New Hampshire's seceding either way. We're like, fuck it. We don't like either of them. So. Unless it's Ron Paul, if he becomes president, we'll be like, okay, we'll stick it.
What if you have Senator Kaufman?
Senator Cotton?
Kaufman.
Oh, Kaufman. I think he said Cotton. I was like,
no, not Tom Cotton. Holy hell no.
We need Senator Coverdale. Is it Coverdale or Coverdale? Which one?
It's
like Coverdale. I saw Scott Horton. Okay.
Yeah.
Dave Smith was like, I'm in too deep now. I'm saying it how I've been saying it.
No, it's Coverdale. Dude, the telemarketers, they say like Cloverdale. They get it wrong all the time, but yeah.
Speaking of the ANC meetup stuff, folks have been talking about doing West Coast meetup soon. That should be pretty fun. I don't think Ryan will make it, but
an ANC meetup without Ryan.
No. Skype me in.
At least the yeah. Hey, if you can get us in, we'll go.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just all the crowd, People had been asking about it for a while, so we'll probably set something.
Well, look like giants over there. Are they short in Thailand too?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely feel like a giant
here. I think they said it looked like you shattered Clint's world in that Tower of Power episode, Ryan. He has not even watched Spinning Squirrel, I don't think, at that time. What's funny is what Jose would say. He's like, I started watching Spinning Squirrel, just whatever. And then about an hour in, I was like, I think he's right. Yeah, because we don't give the counter arguments to everything I just said till the second half of it. So just watch the first half and walk away. Tower Gang. Did they put that up on Odysee?
It's up on Odysee. Yeah, I took it off YouTube.
Yeah, smart. Yeah, smart.
Yeah. My public position is agnosticism. It's going to stay that way. So,
yeah. We didn't say anything bad. It just doesn't matter because anything other than the Spielberg version of the event is considered denial and pro-Nazi and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what it is. 3 prime ministers gone.
3 what? Prime ministers?
Well, kind of. Ex-prime minister Abe was shot. Boris Johnson forced to resign, and the entire government of Sri Lanka is on the run. So
yeah.
Yeah,
pretty good.
It's because of the George Guidestones, man. He broke the stone. World leaders are dropping like flies. Yeah, I don't think Germany's going to last very much longer, and neither is the Netherlands. It's you're going to see a sea change in both those places, and I don't think Biden's going to make it. I don't think he's going to make it much longer past the midterms. Even the problem is, what are we going to do with the President Harris? For real,
I don't think anything's going to change, right? Like, I mean, it's so obvious.
I mean,
neither of them are
really at least stay on
trend and everything.
Yeah, the trend would continue for sure.
I mean, I think, like,
imagine President Harris, and who's going to be her vice president? A Muppet.
So Ryan, I want an honest opinion from you. How much better do you think Trump would have been with Ukraine? Because, like, on a surface level, I feel like he would have been a little bit better. But then if you, like, dig into his policies while he was president with Ukraine, they're pretty fucking awful. So how much different do you think it would have been?
Well, 2 things that would have been different is, one, Trump is very anti-NATO. He was like, y'all aren't paying enough. You're going to have to pay more. And that would have been a game stop on NATO.
Right.
He actually talked to Putin. He wasn't like, you're a demon and I can't negotiate with you. So Putin, for example, he met with Trump in July 2017. This is after Trump bombed Syria. Talked to him, and the next day Trump cut all CIA funding to terrorists.
Right.
Like, he just needed the right person to talk to. Then the neocons, the Boltons and stuff get in his ear. Trump's like whoever he last spoke to. That's why he's such an 8-ball, right?
Yeah, right.
But the other thing is, Trump would not have shut down pipelines and drilling rights or rejoined the Paris Accord or gotten this green energy crap. That's what's hurting them just as much as sanctions on Russia is they sabotage themselves. Everyone saw the inflation before the Ukraine war. Those were Biden policies that Trump would not have had. He would have been in a much stronger position to, if he was going to sanction, to survive them, because he wasn't printing money like a wild man or getting on this green agenda or doing all the new regulations and less pipelines and less drilling rights and less access to oil. And he definitely would not have dipped into the strategic oil reserve and sold it to China, which Biden. So that,
do you think the inflation would be much different though, because of all the money we print? Like, most of the money is still
it was COVID, so that wouldn't have mattered. Yeah. Like, Trump printed money too, but
actually,
the one big thing that one thing that Biden did to exacerbate the money printing was mandates. A lot of people left the healthcare profession and the military and all these vital sectors of the economy because they didn't want to be forced to take a vaccine. And so we lost a lot of good soldiers, and we lost a lot of good nurses and doctors and care workers because of the vaccine mandate. And that hit every industry. And, you know, there's not much Trump can do on the state level. New York, Florida, whatever is going to decide if they're going to have their restaurants open or not. It's not up to the president. But he definitely would not have done mandates. He's like, he was for the vaccine. He's for fast tracking the vaccine, but he was against mandates.
Yeah.
So without the mandates, people would be like, okay, you do it, but I'm not going to do it. And they could have stayed in their job, right? A lot of people couldn't travel, couldn't work, couldn't whatever, unless they got the jab. So they're pissed off. They were forced to take it, or they didn't take it. They ended up paying the consequences. And if enough people do that, the whole business shuts down. I mean, that was all Biden. So this is why I say, like, yeah, Trump would have been better economically, and it would have been better on the conditions that ended up leading to the coup in Ukraine, or they already had the coup, to the war in Ukraine.
Yeah.
And also, I think he would have handled that meeting in December much differently when Putin drew the line. say, okay, we need to figure out an exit ramp here. They need to get out of Donbass, join the Minsk agreement. It's a good agreement. It shouldn't be murdering people. You know, I can see that because he had Doug McGregor in as the head of the DOD, and McGregor knows Ukraine and is correct on Ukraine. And so that would have been the voice in his ear instead of Esper or some idiot like that. You would have had Douglas McGregor.
Yeah.
Douglas McGregor never, and no one like Douglas McGregor is going to work for Biden. Right. But then you're like, well, did he only have Doug McGregor in because he's a lame duck? So he's just like, F it all. I'm going to bring in all the people I really wanted to bring in. And
Yeah.
You know, but like he was considering him before. And I'm like, please pick McGregor. And he didn't.
Yeah.
But that last month and a half, he had a pretty good cabinet. He had a good Secretary of Defense. Doug McGregor ought to be there now. You know, I hope whoever gets in there next will choose him or someone like him. They should be in charge of these things. But yeah, it all would have been better. There wouldn't have been mandates for one. There's still going to be a war in Ukraine because Zelensky and them were fixing on invading Donbass themselves in March, and Putin preempted it. But, you know, he would have told NATO, that's your problem. You deal with Russia. You know, I'm focused on our problems, our money. He'd be building a wall or whatever with money instead. So, yeah, I'd rather that. I'd rather have a pointless wall that people can just get over with a ladder than murder people in Ukraine.
Yeah,
you know?
That's fair.
Hey, we could just bring the troops home and put them on the border, and we wouldn't need and then save money.
Well, didn't he say Texas is like, you're not coming? We will arrest you on site now. Like that's what they're saying.
Yeah, my cousin is in the National Guard, and he's in Texas right now on the border. So, or he's about to be there at least. I don't know if he's there yet, but I talked to him the other day. So
they said you
could. Could you give a quick summary of what Reed Cooley's been doing? Like what
Yeah. So he had some sort of fallout with, or he had a fallout with Young Americans for Liberty. And he is starting, I don't know how much he wants me to say about what he's starting, but he is starting a new organization. And he's also working, I'm supposed to talk to you about this, Ryan. He wants to get you on a new social media platform that he's working on with Ben Swan. I don't know if you like Ben Swan or not, but
yeah, I like Ben.
They got me on it, and I asked them if they want you, and he said sure. So if you want to try it out, it's called Sovereign, and it's free speech absolutist platform. So there's not a ton of people on it, but it's a platform. So
what kind of, is it like a video platform or a podcast audio or what?
It's like everything. So you can put anything on it. It's sort of like a mix of Twitter and YouTube, I'd say. So you can post links to anything you want on it, but you can also post full length videos on it. So
kind of like Telegram.
Yeah. It's more like Telegram actually, probably. But
well, this one is doing it. And I mean, can I just restream to it? I'll have to look at it. And
I was supposed to get. I talked to.
I'd love to have
a week ago, but
I'd love to have Reed Cooley on sometime. He's doing some really cool. You met him in Houston. He was the other guy in the suit.
He's the other Reed.
Yeah. I was in Reed's Telegram. I feel like I'm lost in the Reeds sometimes. But,
yeah, he's cool. He's a good
guy. He's doing some cool stuff.
And weren't in the Cooley trade, were they?
No idea. But I'm going to be with him. He's going to be at Freedom Fest this week, so I'll be with him the next few days. So
cool.
Last names sometimes come from your occupation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your kind of name. So that makes me wonder about the Northern General Hooker.
Yeah.
What's your last name? Hooker. Oh. Okay. Is that for like hooking fish, maybe? Or
yeah, definitely.
Sure. I just invited Jackman. I don't know if they're, or here comes Scott. Let's see if his thing works.
What's up,
Howdy.
man?
Whoa.
Howdy.
Hey, he's got a connection.
Yeah.
Hey, Scott,
I think you're the first black person on the stream.
Hey.
I'm thinking. How are things in Pirate Land?
And we got some good swell today. Everybody went surfing all day.
Hey, he's got a
There you go,
flintlock.
Scott. You like this? It's a British Sea Service pistol.
I don't
know if you can. It's dark where I am, but
Flintlock British Sea Service pistol.
yeah.
That's
He
awesome, man.
He just has his gun on the table when he does a podcast because why not?
I'm in New Hampshire. You never know what's going to happen. So
that'll put a hole in somebody the size of a grapefruit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna not make the obvious joke.
You can on here. We're not. We're already banned.
Nah, it's sensitive.
Oh no, you can't say that. No, can't even joke.
So Scott, have you is your book out yet, or you were? I forget.
Yeah,
you were doing something the Golden Age of Piracy or whatever.
Yeah, I got them today. I'm going delivering a bunch of them tomorrow.
Nice, man.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to do.
Scott's got a Substack now.
Yeah,
sort of, half of one.
Kind of.
Yeah. Working.
Scott, I always wanted to ask you: Are you familiar with Dr. Jim Knight, the archaeologist that? Okay, he does a lot of stuff in Cuba, but a lot of pre-Columbian Native American stuff. He is out of University of Alabama. I used to work under him for a while, and it was a great experience.
Yeah, Cuba would be a dope place to dig, man. There's a lot of history there.
For the longest time, he was one of the only Americans allowed to go there regularly, and he had his own plane, so he would just fly down to Cuba.
Yeah, the guy I work with,
cool
Dr. Horton, has been literally everywhere. He digs in Africa a lot, but his favorite thing is New World contact, like that initial contact. He likes to look at native societies just before, meeting somebody from Europe, and then right after, and see what the change is like. Usually initially positive and then terribly negative.
You got a cold?
Yeah, bad one. I think I might have the China virus. My daughter's had it, so
nah.
Yeah, basically a cold.
Yeah. Talking about the Croatoan religion, the three gods and the Earth planet, and that was 3 parts water, 1 part Earth. Can you talk a bit about that? It's pretty neat that they got it like pretty closer than some people today who don't even say there's a sphere.
Yeah, so this was written down by everything scientist, mathematician like Thomas Harriot, Ben Franklin of the 1500s. He did it all, and he wrote down a lot of that, and then I got some of it from some other places. Most of it comes from him. And basically, they believed in one like paramount god, one chief god called Men. That's like the same god that we have like Judaism or Islam, like one all-powerful being that's always existed. And then that god made 2 demigods, 2 smaller ones, to help manage the universe. One of them was named Kibas, and the other one was Sepoy. And Kibas made the water planet, which is 3 parts water and 1 part land, or the water sphere, is what they called it, which is where they lived. It's here, Earth. And Sepoy made the land planet, which is 3 parts land, 1 part water, and managed everything. So in it, symbols. They had the same like good evil dichotomy of like whatever you do in this life, if you follow these certain rules, then when you die you go to like a heaven, and then if you don't, then you go to this place called Popogoso, which was here on Earth, where the sun sets, clearly California, and it wasn't fire and brimstone. No, it was freezing cold and utter darkness, so you couldn't see it all and just wander around in the cold. But it was
kind of like the North.
Not eternal. You could graduate from Popo Grosso and like make your way out of it. It wasn't forever. But you could also get kicked out of heaven, so you had to be good after you died too. And in the creation story, they said that the big god lived on a sky rock where you could like talk to animals and stuff. And then the land, the Sepoy's planet, the one that is 3-part land, 1 part water, is supposed to make contact with the water planet at some point, and they're going to fight each other 3 times. And if they don't learn how to get along after that, then the main god is just going to wipe them all out. But if they do learn how to get along with each other, then a great society comes out of it, and they will be allowed to all come back to the Skyrock and live there, and they won't be deaf to the language of animals. And I forgot to say, everyone was on the Skyrock before, and then something happened, and whatever, they made these other things. But the Machu comic, which is like a morgue, they kept everybody who died in for a given year, and then they bury them during the summer solstice. They had statues of Kibos in there, and they're black and red and white, and had a copper and shell necklace and like a top knot haircut. And because they're not allowed to talk to the chief god directly, they had to go through Kibos like he's like the Pope, and except for with actual powers. And then they had some like smaller, like even smaller gods than that. Like one of them looked like a mermaid. So when the first Crotonians went to England, there was 2 guys, named Manio and Wanchis. One of the things they saw was it was the tavern, and it had a wooden carving of a mermaid that was painted, and they just thought, oh, they know about this over here, that confirms that it's real. But they're really impressed with the horses and all that. But in a religion too, they had 2 kinds of burials. One's a flex burial, where you're in a fetal position and the wrists are tied together and the ankles, and you face east, because where the sun rose was where heaven was. It wasn't like another dimension. It was on the water planet, just on the other side of the ocean. And the people that came up with this religion, of course, they live on an island that you can't see land from. It's like 50 miles from the nearest anything. So of course they thought the world is 3 parts water, which they happened to be right. But what was I saying? Oh, they face east when they die. And then the other burial was this big ossuary where everyone was taken out of that morgue, and they would polish the long bones with bear grease, wrap them in an albino deer hide, big week-long thing of wailing and dancing, and it's like a shitload of ceremony, and they bury them all together. And one of these was found in 1974, and it's the 2nd largest ossuary found in the United States, and it's the largest in North Carolina by far. It had 110 people minimum, meaning every single bone of a skeleton was found and it counts as 1 person. So 110, and it was probably more like 200. But they were discovered by these kids. They weren't really kids. They were like 19, 20-year-olds that were building a ramp out of dirt for like 4-wheelers or stuff. It's in the 70s, and they accidentally found these skulls.
Oh, was that back when kids went outside?
Yeah, and they took some of the skulls home because they're idiots. And it was just 3 guys and 3 girls, and one of the guys told me this story, and I recorded it too. His name's Alan, and the girl's name was Marcy. And they're on a
hey Scott, is that recording going to be on your Substack later?
No, because it's like really bad shit going on in the background and banging dishes and stuff. I didn't know like he was going to just start spouting this off, so I was just sitting there, and then I was like, I recorded these idiots, or I would have like reserved something. But I heard the story though because I was there, and he said that they were on this mattress, him and this girl, and they had taken one of the skulls, and they were in this like really shitty apartment. She woke him up, hitting him with her elbow, and didn't say anything. He looked at her, and she was like sweating and pale, and She's at the end of the bed. He looked up and he said there's an Indian standing there, was painted green white, and had a gourd that he was shaking. It had like a rattle, like a beating a drum and chanting. And he said it only lasts like 4 seconds. They both saw it, and they wanted to get a moment. I was between them and the door. Then they heard this bang, bang, bang on this metal door, and their friend Johnny was standing outside. And when that happened, the Indian disappeared, and they got up, ran door, and he was standing there, holding his skull. He's like, "You're not gonna believe what happened to me this morning," and like same shit happened to him, and he tell the same story, and that really freaked him out. So like, we got to put these back, and they start heading down Cola Road, and at the end of Cola Road is where they found him. And there's this other road, Deering, that intercepted it. It doesn't now, but there used to be this little wooden bridge, and it did. And then the other guy, his girlfriend had their skull, and the girl was completely hysterical and freaking out. And the guy came running up over that little wooden bridge and saw him, and he's like, "Man, this morning we saw all this in the same story," and they were like, "Fuck this," and like, "We're putting this shit back right now." 6 people all had the same dream, hallucination, vision, or the same drugs, or however you want to put it. But I've heard this story from 2 of them, 2 that I've been able to interview, and I did it different times. I didn't have leading questions, and they said exactly the same story. Like every detail was the same, and they all got goosebumps, really shook up talking about it. So knowing that kind of freaked me out, because in 2010 I had 3 skeletons in my bathroom because we were doing archaeology, and it's not a lot of these things are marked the headstone, and we don't want to dig up graves, but it happens. And the first time it happened, the state of North Carolina, like, rules, law, you have to send the bones in Raleigh to make sure, that's our capital, to make sure that it's not some myth or whatever, which we knew because we went through a cake of all the years, so they're centuries old. But we sent them in as a man, a woman, and a child, but we couldn't take them to Raleigh right away. Hurricane hit, and there's only one road to get on the island, and the road was washed out in this place called Road Ante. For 3 days you couldn't get off the island, and the other side of the island you got to take a ferry. You obviously can't take a ferry in a hurricane, so they just sat there in my bathroom for 3 days. I remember thinking, I do not want to see some Indians in my bed beating a drum. And like, I don't believe that, but at the same time, I wouldn't play like a Ouija board in a graveyard at night by myself, so I guess I believe it. And one morning, I swear to God, I heard it dun, 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 like that, and I woke up and I still hear it. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm awake. I still hear it. I have a living room, and my kids are beating my this African drum, but for like 10 I just like, really flipped out. I was really, really happy to get this out of my house. And anyway, that's a long story. Oh, there we go.
Hey. You. This way. Cheeks.
Hey.
Yeah. Hello.
Oh.
Oh.
Hey.
You want to count?
No.
Hi. Go to the mama, please.
Mom.
Can you go Ampanman?
Mom.
Yeah. Ampan, bye-bye.
Imagine being a kid that innocent growing up in the Dawson household with all the shit you're going to be inundated with over the years. So sweet, doesn't know anything.
Say Auschwitz. Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Does he still love the pond?
What's that?
Bread, they call bread pond.
See my hand? Oh, Pon. Yeah, he likes Pon.
I know Coochie's mouth.
That's right.
Put on.
There you go. Konya, you want to hang out with Daddy? All right. I guess we got to end this.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I will see you guys tomorrow. Pod, you want to jump on Telegram with me?
Oh, sure.
All right, cool. All right, we'll see you then. Reed Coverdale, Scott Dawson, Baby doll and pug. The pug. Peace out.
All right.
Yeah, I got was in now. Oh well.
All right, guys. I'll see you
I
later.
can't imagine having a kid right now. Yeah.
See ya.